Hello, hello. Welcome all, welcome all. How come where's my fucking comments here? There we go. There we go. Okay. Always a problem. Always a problem. Sometimes it's just like I just ate cooking chicked at 155, not 165. Y'all think I'm good. You'll probably be fine. This is a a funny thing about when some people try to get justify like Jewish and Islamic law forbidding the consumption of pork, they're always like, well, it's really smart not to eat pork because of like strychnine and stuff, and it's just like, but pork has a lower cooking temperature to make it safe than chicken. Like, if you're gonna ban one meat, like it would be chicken. Like, no, there was no logical reason for them banning pork. Like, meanwhile, the Chinese are eating pork like off the wall and doing great. Like, I mean, today if you're against eating pork on like moral grounds because of like thinking that pigs have feelings and things like this, I understand that, but don't try to like push some sort of like health issue to justify these ancient bannings. But yeah, in general, chicken is cooked at 165. Uh, Other meats are lower, but poultry is higher. Um, Preston, do you like unflavored milk? I mean, doesn't everybody like milk? No, that's not true. Some people hate milk. But oh, hello, hello. Hello. Let's get. Hey, you there?
Yes, ma'am. By the way, they just released it.
Oh, the new trailer thing.
The extended trailer. Only a couple of scenes. I'll send it to you
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the usual. If you want to cover that on here real quick. I think it. I don't know. Let me see if it has the because
Has
we don't want to
anything
get
good?
like there's some extended scenes. Let me see if it has the music.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh, it does. It does. It does. So that's up to you if you want to take that shot.
Well, I mean, if I play it, I'll get copyright like struck. Like,
Just mute it. Just mute it. You can play it. Just mute it.
um, this the extended trailer comes out right now.
No, it's out now. Yeah.
All right, let's see what they have. Any. Okay. Hold on a second. House of the Dragon extended trailer.
No. Check Facebook. I sent it to you on Facebook.
Okay. All right, let's mute this shit. And then if I go really slow, I won't get copyrighted, right? Like if it's just image by image.
I
Um,
think if you just mute it, you'll be fine. But there are some there are some. Remember when Jaehaerys's bullshit lie about Targaryens like being kind of separate from normal people?
yeah.
That's kind of in there with their own take on it. Like Targaryens are like, what is it? Targaryens are closer to gods. What is it? What do they say?
Uh,
Uh, Targaryens are more closer to gods than men. Never mind. So they say the Jaehaerys thing.
okay. Hold on. God, I gotta fucking. Okay, let's see. Real quick. Let's see if I can. All right. Here is literally Carmine's sending me on my Twitter. Okay, here we go. What do we got here? Oh, the door. The door is new. Big door. Anything to say about the big door, Carmine?
I'm a little worried. I see your Facebook tab over there, so carefully.
Close everything.
Thank you.
Okay. So no one knows. Okay. So she's going into the throne room. HBO original series. The dream was clearer than a memory. This thing again. Um, let's move. Just like move it around. Facebook has got. I mean, YouTube's gotten crazy. So like, my by the way, my last trailer video got trailer breakdown. It's like I do all this work, and then I come to my ending skit, you know, with the High School Musical thing, and like I chose. Like I know that if I used like the straight from High School Musical like music, I'll get copyrighted. So like my trick in the past was to find people's covers. And it's like I searched for people's covers and I'm like, are they using a karaoke backdrop? Because like it kept getting struck. And then I just like found like two people with acoustic guitars like singing on their own. And it still got copyright struck. And not like by them, like by like Disney. And it's like revenue sharing. Like it's like they've gotten really fucking good at just like grabbing lyrics and melodies and just like getting you.
No. You have no idea. All the tricks in the book that I've learned over the past like almost 10 years on YouTube,
Yeah.
none of them work. I was finished with my trailer breakdown at like 2:00, and then I had to resubmit, edit. By the time I had to put out my stuff, it was like 5-6 p.m.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was like I was searching for stuff after like 2 hours of like re-rendering and shit. I'm just like done. You know, I'm like, fine, fuck it. Like have my money, Disney. So
you gave me your money. It's just copyright claim?
It's copyright claimed and it's shared. It was something new. I've never seen shared. Usually they just take all of your fucking money, but but whatevs. Oh, who's ringing my doorbell? Oh no. Hold on a second. Hold on. Somebody's ringing my doorbell. Damn it. That's my telephone. But no one important calls me. Okay. All right. Thundering of thundering hooves. Where are we? So wait, the person riding in that we saw from a distance, now we know it seems to be Rhaenyra, right? Is that Rhaenyra on her horse? Right here? Or is that Daemon?
Well, which one is it? They have white hair, and they're white. People?
It seems to be with a Kingsguard. So maybe she's like going riding with Kristen Cole, or whatever. You know, so something like that, or I don't know. Then we're at the the Ascension tourney. I'm gonna do a House of the Dragon. My next House of the Dragon, overanalyzing House of the Dragon, has to do with this tourney because it comes to the Kristen Cole situation. Dragon Demands explained this pretty well in one of his videos about how George R. R. Martin doesn't know what a morning star is, or he didn't. And so, yeah. So though. Maybe he messed up and then he just decided, fuck it, I'm going to be like consistent and like not change. So he consistently calls a flail a morning star, like throughout the books, like several, like it's not just like once. There's like a good like 7 references to like swinging morning stars. Who else is joining us here? Oh, it's Trey. Hello. Hold on a second. Add right. Hello, Trey.
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Sorry if I was interrupting.
No. We're discussing the trailer and the difference between flails and morning stars.
Okay.
But I'm gonna get into this in my next overanalyzing. But essentially, Kristen Cole and Daemon Targaryen are both the biggest fucking dicks. That like you know, you can talk about biased sources all day long, but like the fact that Daemon is going into a melee with a Valyrian steel live weapon, and Kristen Cole is going in with a fucking flail, spiked flail, into a tourney. Like, fuck you guys. Like
especially the Valyrian steel. Like that's literally going to just cut right through your armor and kill you.
Like fuck. Like both of you guys are total dicks. Now I get like Kristen Cole, like that's pretty brave to fucking take on the guy with the goddamn Valyrian steel blade in the middle of a tourney. Like when everybody else is using blunted weapons. Like, but still, you had a spiked flail. Like, what were you doing? But then again, they say that it was he like disarms him in the final moments of the tourney, which is really weird because like you in history the tourneys would go until people got exhausted or until sundown. So I don't know if they have like weird timed tourneys in this, but you know, George fucks up with his. It's not like, you know, people are supposed to know about the intricacies of history. And shit.
Preston, HBO or the Game of Thrones YouTube channel released it on their YouTube channel.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to just go on there, it's Rhaenyra. It's a much better.
Yeah,
1080p. It's a much better version.
It's fine. All right. So an extended fight. And then this scene of him taking like a sword out of a body that we weren't sure what that was or whose body that would be. And then him getting cut. Yeah, it's just kind of the same scenes, but it's like everything's kind of just a longer pan, right?
The dragon.
Yeah.
Do we know what dragon that is? Is that...
I think it's Cyrax because it's like Rhaenyra on top of it. The color is yellow. Which, if we're talking about the time period, not that like Aegon II didn't have Sunfire and a yellowish dragon as well, but like, you know, we don't see any Aegon in any trailer or stuff. So it's like the impression is that it's Cyrax because like Caraxes is red and Meleys is red and Sea Smoke is like gray. So we can't, you know, and Vhagar is yellow. But Vhagar is also fucking enormous and rode by Laena, and I haven't seen any Laena. Or I guess we do see Laena once, like for a second, but
and then there was the dragon pit.
The dragon pit, which I made a joke about how like there's like so something like the dragon
it's like domed.
right. Like what level of technology do they have to produce something that big at that time? Because like anytime you visit these like massive European cathedrals, like the ones you'll find in like take Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, or take the one in Cologne, Germany, that's enormous, you know, like these really huge cathedrals. If you look at like when they're started and when they're finished, they usually have construction periods of like 150 years, you know, right? Like they're multi-generational projects. Sagrada Familia isn't even finished, right? So the idea that somehow that fucking structure would be built.
Does Westeros have concrete by any chance? Like
I don't think. I mean, it has concrete, but it's concrete left over from ancient times.
Oh yeah.
So like Valyrian fused stone on Dragonstone, or like the walls of Storm's End, like one could say are concrete like, but nothing else. Because like Catelyn makes a special point about how the stones of Storm's End are so cleverly put together that there's no seams between them. So it seems like if having no seams is special, then it seems like there's no concrete, you know. But
in the books, do we have any idea how long it took to build the dragon pit? Or
we do. I think there is a line in Fire and Blood that the dragon pit is finally completed, and I think they put the dragon pit being completed in like I want to say like 20 to 30 years or something. Like it's there is a line in Fire and Blood. I have to look it up, but it's well during like Jaehaerys's reign, about the dragon pit. But I was actually thinking about it the other day, and
so there is a. I'm going to interrupt you for 1 minute.
okay.
So someone just hit me up to I don't know how he has this information, but by the way, hey Trey. Trey. I always talk to Trey privately, but I don't think the audio. Trey.
By the way, Trey, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I made this joke with Carmine earlier today. I was like, oh, I read Trey's Twitter. I guess he's going to grow up to be the exact opposite of Soldier Boy.
Have you seen The Boys, Trey?
I've seen like bits and pieces of it, so I know Soldier Boy.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, he has a whole thing about having a conversation with his father, and it's the exact opposite.
It's the opposite of that. Oh no! This is a sweet moment. No, I like cried in the restaurant.
And had it gone reversed,
anyways,
you probably would have still cried in the restaurant.
But so we're all wondering, like, okay, so this is the Game of Thrones prequel, and it focuses on the Targaryens. And I actually had this conversation with Preston on another podcast that I still need to put out. But is anything Game of Thrones prequel still Game of Thrones if there's no dragons, White Walkers, or direwolves, right? Like Star Wars.
Is there a throne and is there a game?
Everybody has a throne in every medieval fantasy thing, but there are certain specific things. Like you can have Dune, you can have Star Trek, but what sets Star Wars apart from everything like that is that you have lightsabers, Jedi, and Sith, Death Star, X-Wings, whatever. So is House of the Dragon really in the Game of Thrones cinematic universe without White Walkers? Well, apparently they're changing some of the story to include a prophecy about the White Walkers.
No,
maybe according to Dragon Demands here, like 9 days ago. Apparently, this was only like it was kept a secret from the current Targaryen monarch or something. But I don't know how he knows this, so we'll see when episode 1 comes. But we might be seeing them including a White Walker prophecy into the Targaryen Civil War, which will be completely and utterly new.
Oh, I know in Fire and Blood they do mention like a Valyrian prophecy about like doom coming from the north or from Westeros, and it's like posited as that's like one of the reasons why the Valyrians never colonized Westeros proper. I think it's in Fire and Blood or either the World Book. So I guess there's some basis for it.
Many had heard the prophecy that the hammer would smash the dragon, and it took to mean that Hard Hugh's triumph was foreordained. There's that one, and then there's Camp of a prophecy of ancient days that said, when the hammer shall fall upon the dragon, a new king shall rise, none shall stand before it. I don't know. Maybe too much. I know that George in an interview once said that like some have theorized that the reason Aegon came was because he knew of the problems north of the wall. But what does some mean? Some mean story or in like fan theories? Like what does he mean? And he doesn't say it's like truth. He just said some speculate. Let's see here. The 2-factor authentication with the marbles. Corlys on the small council. Why it's so funny. I guess I'm like, why in fantasy do they insist on having like 500 candles? It's like clearly they need the 500 candles for like filming, but like no one in real life would light that many fucking candles. How many bees do they have in Westeros? It's fucking bees everywhere. The Iron Throne is the most dangerous seat in the realm. We have Viserys telling his daughter.
So supposedly that was part of one of the leaks, and part of the leaks was the White Walker prophecy, though that White Walker prophecy thing could just be some idiot just, being an idiot. So we don't know until we
Hmm.
see the first episode.
I mean, in the end, we find out that Arya kills the White Walkers. So like, and Bran, and they don't really have anything to do with the Iron Throne. So.
Oh, I found the little prophecy thing. It's in the World Book. It says Septon Barth speculates, referring to Valyrian text, suggesting the Freehold sorcerers foretold that the gold of Casterly Rock would destroy them. Suggests the Valyrians at ancient days. Oh wait, no, this isn't it. This is a different thing. Oh.
Still though, that's pretty odd. I don't even remember that line. The gold of Casterly Rock will destroy them.
Cool. To destroy them. I guess it's gonna. I guess, is that talking about Tywin, or is that going to talk about Tyrion? I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it could be interpreted either way. I mean, obviously George just throws this shit out there and then like...
Right.
Our line is vulnerable, too easily ended. With this statue. Huh. I mean, it looks like they're both praying somewhere, as if they're praying in the royal sept. But this sept is like the great sept of Baelor is not built yet, so there shouldn't be like a huge sept like this yet. But maybe they're messing with the timeline and they already have a huge sept in King's Landing. But they kind of, the idea is that the faith is still, and everything is still in Old Town. And so there's like the power of the Old Town conspiracy is still around. But this makes it look like there's a huge fucking sept that they're praying at in King's Landing. All right. The Ascension Tourney, which... No queen has ever set the Iron Throne. Watching on a beach. Rhaenyra looking sad. King has an heir. Daemon. I'll not be able to choose my brother and my daughter. Oh, the chess pieces. Do you guys think it... So what? See, it's like this color, which is gray. And then we look at these chess pieces. And the chess pieces, like, I'm trying to figure out like what they are. Clearly we have this like Tarly chess piece. And then we clearly have like some birds sitting in a tree chess piece for like Karen. And then we have an eagle, which could be either Corbray with like holding the heart, or it could be Seaguard. Not sure. And then there's something here. I can't really figure out what it is, but I'm assuming that this is a boar. But then there's just this fucking pillar. And I'm like, why? Like, what is this pillar? Like, does that represent Corbray? Does that recommend like a wall for Seaguard? Like, I don't know. And then there's this like weird, very fluid, kind of like broccoli cauliflower looking thing. And I'm like, that seems like maybe it's a golden tree of Rowan, of Golden Grove, which would go with the color. However, this like squire is like dressed in this like red and greenish like quartering, which, House Tarth is rose and blue, but like rose and azure, but like, and I'd be like, maybe his squire is from a different house, but everybody else's squires seem to be fucking matching. So I don't know. What can you do? Good old Kristen Cole, handsome man, staring into the sun. Rhaenyra's succession will be challenged. He's got I guess this is Daemon after returning from the Stepstones with his crown. And he like gives the crown to Viserys as like a token of goodwill, even though he eventually returns to the Stepstones to be king again. So it's kind of, everything's just yeah.
I wasn't expecting them to do so much with the Stepstones war and all that.
I think it's the only way to shove action into the series, like CGI action. Like you can build up to like the end with Storm's End or something at the start of the Dance of the Dragons, but I think they just wanted more action scenes, and it's like the only thing that happens. are some tourneys and like the War in the Stepstones.
these islands nobody really cares about.
Right, and it's a fairly the War in the Stepstones and like Damon's rule there is fairly incidental. Like I'm not saying some of it doesn't come back, because some of it does. Like the Triarch, the three sisters do like attack the ship that Aegon the Third and Viserys the Second are on, and Aegon the Third's dragon is killed. Like, and Viserys the Second is taken off to Essos, and like, yeah, that plays into like Targaryen history later. But like, other than that, there's not really very much like relevant to the fact that Daemon Targaryen spent years in the Stepstones like fighting. Other than the fact that he became really good buds with Corlys Velaryon, but it could have just been established that he was really good buds with Corlys Velaryon because he married into the family, you know, but and was married to Laena. But your first duty is to take a new wife. It doesn't look like they're going to have a possible affair between Alicent and Viserys, but we'll see. So, I'm your heir. Yes, that great line. Okay. Dragonstone, the egg heist. And how I want to know how Otto got there quickly. By the way, like so Carmine like tells me like the different actresses like he loves, and I'm like, Carmine, isn't like young Rhaenyra like right up your alley?
Yeah, the actress is blonde too. Was she permitted? Wait, hold on. I gotta make sure this is not a trap. Hold on, let me see how old she is.
Trap.
No, she's 22. She's 22.
Which one, Darcy or the young one, young Rhaenyra?
The young one. Darcy is 30. She's 22.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no,
Darcy is very young.
No, they're both very good looking. By the way, our baby squirrel Dragon Demands, he clarified. So during the extended trailer they showed a Comic-Con, blah blah blah. He reported on a leak video a month ago, the one about Viserys revealing Rhaenyra the secret prophecy of the White Walker's return. The idea is that after Viserys names Rhaenyra's heir, he takes her down to Balerion Skull to privately share with her a secret prophecy passed down from kings to heir. Aegon the Conqueror united Westeros because he had a prophetic dream about the White Walkers returning. So it's kind of like, so they're kind of retconning the original idea. It's kind of like how in Star Wars, the only reason Palpatine built the Death Star is to get everybody in line, and then later down the line in canon, that changes. The only reason Palpatine built the Death Star is not to put the galaxy in line, but also to prepare them for the alien race known as the Yuzon Vong, who had giant planet-sized ships, so bioships. So they're going back and like fucking with the lore a little bit. I don't know how that's gonna be received.
Is that the like? I know there's another galaxy that invades Star Wars, at least in the Marvel Comics continuity, and they kind of
the Yuzon Vong. That was the original canon. So I don't know how the fandom at large will be okay with this. I don't know how George is, but
that's rather nuanced for Star Wars. Like you know, the villains are villains. Like the Emperor is the Emperor. He's a fucking 100. He's 150% villain. You know, to like.
So they basically it's killing two birds with one stone. You're putting the galaxy in check with the Death Star.
Yeah,
but also they invade. Yeah. So I guess this is supposed to be tragic because I'm assuming Rhaenyra. Spoiler alert. I mean, not really spoiler. It's Fire and Blood's already out. Rhaenyra will die before she can share the White Walker incoming threat. So I guess that adds to the tragedy of Westeros could have been prepared 100 years ago had this not happened.
Right. Or, you know, the Night King could have sent more javelins and had many more like white dragons at his disposal with all of his javelin throwing.
Look, Preston, I'm just a messenger. I don't know what you want from me.
Right? Because, I mean, what really stopped him in the end was you know, Bran like getting in the werewood net and learning everything and putting all of his pieces in place, most notably Arya. But yeah. All right. The Lords of the Realm bent the knee. Woman would not inherit the throne. Rhaenys with her silver hair. Everyone's like, maybe she went gray. And I was like, no one goes like completely gray that young. Like she, especially from black. She would be salt and pepper, if anything, at that point. There's the reveal of Rhaenyra the Elder. And here's the Stepstone stuff with Kragus crab feeder, and I don't know about like what like this cooking is going on, like what's going on here. If that's Daemon's egg that he stole, or if it's a later egg for Aegon and things like that. Who knows? But they like showing that pot. Daemon with Caraxes. That looks like the big foot. I just assume is Vhagar, because like why have such a huge foot like that? Probably the egg heist. Oh, there's Mr. Mistopheles again, but a different shot of him. Carmine was like, I don't know, maybe that's a dragon's face. And I was like, it looks like a cat. And he's like, right, but he's hanging out with Daemon in front of his fire. And I was like, could be a dragon's face. And I was like, could be, but it looks like a cat. This one, I admit, does look a lot more like a dragon's face. And this guy's all like burned and shit now.
So the dragon, like I said, the Dragon Keepers, I think Ryan Condal went into more detail about it. The Dragon Keepers are supposed to be like a monkish order that like handles all the dragon stuff. So.
Gotcha. So they've from handling the dragons, they've gotten burned a bunch. They're all physically scarred, but they're the ones.
By the way, I just watched the full fucking extended trailer. Like, there's so little they add. Like, what was the point? How much did Discovery pay HBO for this? Like, how much? Why? There's no point.
Yeah, I watched the Comic-Con panel. It was very planned. Like I'm saying, they're being very meticulous here about what they're releasing and their advertising campaigns and stuff like that. Like, oh, extended trailer. Well, it's the same trailer. Like, they're just doing slightly longer shots. There's nothing really new. Oh, wait, there's your boy's dagger.
So he also, Ryan Condal also went into detail. This is weird. So Ryan Condal said how they're going to, he alluded that they're going to go in line with what you enjoyed about Game of Thrones from Ice and Fire, where they're toning down a lot of the magic and fantastical stuff, obviously minus the dragon stuff.
Yeah.
And like, there's not going to be any like magic spells where like Gandalf comes out and shoots a fireball. Like, that's not going to happen. So a lot of the fantastical and magical aspects of it, even some of the weapons, are going to be toned down a little to more realistic proportions. Because he specifically mentioned the handle of the cat's paw dagger, how it was kind of ridiculous in Game of Thrones. Here it's more like realistic as to what a handle should be.
Well, I mean, the dagger is supposed to be so simple that Joffrey could mistake it for being nothing and just give it to somebody. But or at least Tyrion believes that Joffrey would be stupid enough to take something that simple and then give it to a cat's paw. Like, it makes no sense. Like, but
in the book, but in the show, it's all Littlefinger.
Yeah, I guess in the book it's all Littlefinger. Like, it's the only, we never really find out, right? Like, what happened. I guess it's only because like the absence of information, and Littlefinger is the only schemer around the dagger, that we have to assume it was Littlefinger in the show. But why he would choose a Valyrian steel dagger? I mean, I guess if he's trying to make it seem like it was Tyrion, right? He still claims it's his dagger. That he lies and says it was Tyrion's, right? So we have to.
It's gonna be fun tracking this fucking dagger down from House of the Dragon to Game of Thrones, and like,
right, because it's got to get into
Robert's armory. I guess
Robert's like, it's like I know the book story down, like where the dagger goes, but it's like a little shaky on the show because I think they just it's a dropped plot, right?
Mance Rayder sent the cat's paw.
I think that's a pretty cool idea.
I like that one more than Joffrey.
I mean, I certainly didn't come up with it, but it's like I hear it and I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense. Like, he wants to believe, the wildlings believe in mercy killing.
The Catspaw situations, it's like the JFK assassination where there's all these players on the same spot that have like some motives.
Yeah, exactly. There's a great Onion article which was like JFK shot and killed by, and then it's FBI, CIA, Teamsters, like communists, like, and it just starts like listing all of these people, and then it's like, like 75 bullets removed from JFK's corpse, like no suckling pig here, which was my joke. Like, don't like I can't. So I've eaten from like a roasted pig, like at a big banquet, but there was never like an apple in its mouth. Like I think my dream in life, like, and I think this is an achievable dream, but is to have a suckling pig with an apple in his mouth on the fucking table. Like,
yo, you and this fucking pig at the scene, man. Like, this Preston's obsessed with this.
Come on, like, it's like, doesn't everybody dream to have besides vegetarians, like, doesn't everyone dream to have a suckling, and Muslims and Jews, doesn't everybody dream to have a suckling pig with an apple in its mouth at a banquet one day? Besides vegetarians, Muslims, and Jews, doesn't everybody dream? Don't you guys want to have a suckling pig at like
at least once?
At least once. I looked it up once. They're pretty expensive to so even if you get the pig, you then have to figure out how to cook it. Right? So you've got like to build like this fire pit in your backyard. They do have people that will go to your house and like you can rent and they'll like cook it for you. They like bring a like an oven or bring a big fire pit and they'll build a fire pit. But the whole process, you're talking like a $300 to $400 like investment to have it done.
Are they even at a banquet in this scene, or are they praying at a sept? I don't see any food on the table.
So they're praying at the sept first.
Oh, and then they
juxtapose it with like they're like friends forever, now friends apart. Like, yeah.
That's a crappy feast right there. Yeah, I just noticed that. There's like nothing.
It's like red. It's like red wedding. Like, just give me the heels of bread and like. All right, Corlys. Like, so they made a big deal out of the fact that in House of the Dragon, everybody wears helmets now, more realistic. While in Game of Thrones, how everybody was helmetless, and it was just you die in 2 seconds.
The books talk explicitly about like how not wearing a helmet's stupid because Tyrion loses his nose, right?
Oh yeah, just from his thing being up. Yeah. Like, I mean, even the helmets that they have are pretty minimal. Like, you'd not wear those. Craggus crab feeder, like staking people on the beach to have them drowned. There's Mr. Mistopheles again. She like takes. Oh, does she unsheath the dagger from her own fucking dress here? What is this? I guess so. Huh. And then they're like cat fight, get in a circle. Mission Impossible 2. And then now they see you as you are. And Dragon's face explosion. Okay. All right. Now we can get back to comment. There we go. All right. Some people like having the even though you can on YouTube you can read the comments in 2 places, but a lot of people like the comments on both here. All right, way behind on all of these. What do people say here?
Oh, I can't wait for this one.
Why do you allow Carmine to rope you into giving space to racists to whinge about Corlys Velaryon? Have you read those comments? The racists are loving you. You should both be ashamed. I don't understand this. Like
So that video I uploaded, the video I uploaded of our conversation about the showrunner Ryan Condal saying the quiet part out loud. We
right,
did a whole
right.
comment on it. So half of the people who hated that video, didn't watch it, and the other half are doing like mental gymnastics to call us racist somehow, even though. I think if you took a shot for every time we said we didn't have a problem with the casting, you die.
Oh, or the fact that like my comments are like filled with like right wingers like trashing me constantly. Like, oh my, like for my videos, like Jesus Christ.
What's the one comment you saw where a woman in your comment section said she had an abortion, and then someone replied, "You're a murderer"? Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. And so, like, so that person was banned.
So this dipshit, also, what an insult to Preston to think that I could manipulate him into roping him into discussing this. The guy is way smarter than me. Like, that's such an insult. Preston is way smarter than me and like a lot of other fucking people.
Well,
I think I could rope him into this?
I was thinking about Lando Calrissian lately. Because this has been like we've been doing this, like now there's on like internet now, so people talk about this stuff and it's louder, but like this shit happened back with Lando Calrissian, and I'm old enough to even remember it. Like even as a child, like I remember people's comments about Lando Calrissian, like why did they have to put this black pimp in Star Wars? It just doesn't fit. Like I remember that shit. Like people were like livid that they put this, blaxploitation character in the middle of Star Wars and how he wasn't placed there. And it was like George Lucas like put him in specifically because a bunch of people like complained that there were no black actors in Star Wars, and so he's like, okay, fine, and he put Lando Calrissian in. This is just the facts of the matter, like And then they're like, oh, why do you have to have quotas and shit like that? You're just like, oh, God, like, you just can't win. Like, you can't fucking win. If you don't put him in, like, you're going to be racist. If you do put him in, you're going to get fucking heat. Like, just, like, God, my God. Like, we're going in circles here as a society. Like, just fucking, hey.
I have another take on that, but... Like, once again, this guy goes, the racists are loving you, should both be ashamed. Have you read those comments?
Racists are fucking loving me.
giving space to, first off, giving space. Have you seen all these other grifter channels that Preston's lately been dunking on? Like, they don't need my channel to give them space. You act as though, like, that I'm shining a new light on this and, like, It's all being birthed from my... No, it's not. It's us discussing something that's not racist. I was ripping on the showrunner for saying that part out loud because we all know that's why he did it. But don't say it out loud. Just say the Corley's actor was phenomenal, so you rewrote the part for him.
These things about like this is all about like language and what's the best strategy. So Carmine and I, like in my opinion and my definition of like feminism, like Carmine is a feminist, but like. Would Carmine like go on his channel and be like, I am a feminist? Like he kind of knows that like that message isn't the best way to like deliver his thoughts on politics, because like some people have a different definition of what feminism is, and they probably give him a lot of shit. But like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Carmine. But like,
no. Before I go on that take, this retard is fucking, and I'm calling him that. It's appropriate for this. He goes, "Why are you running out the clock? Just answer the questions." I'm assuming the question here is, why did I allow to rope you in, or why am I defending the racist? I don't know. This guy's an idiot.
I like our position is there's nothing wrong with casting black actors. There needs to be more black actors. There needs to be more representation. Be more tactful when you do it. Like, that's our position. That's it.
You're pretty clear in the fucking video. Like, Ryan Condal's job as showrunner is to hype up the show, not like bring this in. Like, it's fucking dumb. And dipshits like this, like, this is why I tell everyone I ever meet, start a YouTube channel. Like, you will understand a lot more. Also, to what you were saying before, I will say I am one of those people where I'm like, are you just gonna race swap people. I think that's lazy. Make a new character who's just as interesting. But I also understand that's kind of hard to do. This is the same thing that, people like the Quartering and Drinker, this is the same thing they say, just make new characters. The difference here is that I would be satisfied if they made a new character, or even if they change, who cares?
Yeah.
You can't satisfy Quartering and Drinker because their whole channels are based around bitching. So even if showrunners do what they say, they're still going to complain about it regardless, because that's how they make the money.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't win, but whatever. I understand that, but I think that there is a way to have tact about diversity casting. I think diversity casting is important. I think that they want to make money. It makes them money. Diversity casting is like profitable. I think that when people say like go woke, go broke, like they're completely fucking wrong. Like, but like, just like be fucking like, I don't know, just be more careful about it. Just be like, even if like, let's say you had a business, right? And, you realize that, fuck, I've got like 100 people here. And like, by chance, like everybody was fucking white. Crap. Like, and you kind of realize it and you're like, oh man, maybe I should hire a black guy. And then you hire a black guy. Like, you don't go out and say like, dude, I hired this guy just because he was black. Like, even if that was your fucking reason, don't fucking go tell everybody that. Like, just fucking like do it and be like, no, he's a really good worker and let's just fucking move on. Like, just fucking do that. Like don't fucking tell people that you specifically hired him because he was black. Like, even if you did, don't tell people. God. Hey, Preston, been a fan of your A Song of Ice and Fire theories for a while. Was curious about your thoughts on a theory I stumbled on a while back. Is the High Sparrow secretly Howland Reed, doing a bit of trolling? Yeah, this is the High Sparrow is Howland Reed. It's kind of the classic theory that no one believes. Like, so the person that did it, like the reason it also got a lot of traction is that the person that originally came out with HR equals HS, like he like painstakingly went through the book and found like 1,000 reasons why he thought that these two characters were similar, like and all of this stuff. He put in a lot of work. But just because you put in a lot of work doesn't mean like it's fucking true, right? like, oh, he wore this hairstyle of like a bun in the back, and the only character to ever wear a bun in the back is Mira Reed, and you're like, oh, sure, like doesn't fucking mean a thing. Like, I mean, you can go around and be like, well, the only characters that chew sour leaf is like Masha Heddle and Marwyn, and so they're clearly connected. And you're like, sour leaf like doesn't fucking mean anything. Like,
I think part of it stems from like people want to believe like Howland Reed is doing something in the story.
Yeah,
that's as opposed to nothing.
That's exactly it. Now I grant it's connecting the same thing as like people that came up with R plus A equals J, like are using the same logic. You have a character like looking for the identity of his mother in book 1, and then like this woman birthing a mysterious child in book 1, and people being like, well, we have Lyanna birthing a mysterious child in a blood of bed, and we have John like thinking about his mom, who this mysterious mom is. Let's put it together. So like here we have a character, Howland Reed. Where the fuck is he? And then we have the High Sparrow, this mysterious character that comes out of nowhere. Could they be the same person? Well, no. Like, why would Howland Reed like spend his life like studying the faith of the Seven and then go around like forming this entire movement of Seven followers? Like, it just wouldn't. None of it would fit. Like, everybody would be like, why do you have a northern accent? And and what's your plan here? Like, you're gonna create a fake religious revolution in order to like take out Cersei. It's weird. It's weird. Okay. Which two A Song of Ice and Fire characters would you like to see a conversation between? I mean, mine would be Stannis and Dany, the two best claimants to the Iron Throne. Like if you put two people in a room and like how much conversation they would have. Dany and Stannis would be interesting. But in many ways, I think like having like someone like if I really thought it would be an interesting conversation, I'd put like Bloodraven and Marwyn in a room together and let them talk. A lot would come out of that. Some people would have nothing to say to each other. Like imagine if you just like took like the Blackfish and like Pretty Maris and you put them in a room together and you're like, what are you?
I kind of wanted. I always wanted like a Tywin Stannis.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
Tywin Stannis, but I feel like they wouldn't have much to say, even though the fandom wants it. Mm-hmm. Or the fandom always wants to put in like Arthur Dayne with like any other random character because lightsaber sword. But I feel like Arthur Dayne wouldn't have much to say either.
That's probably true. It was the weird thing about late seasons of Game of Thrones, right? Where they everybody is like, oh my gosh, these characters are finally getting together, and then they get together, and then they just kind of have a scene of silence, which is kind of funny. Like that scene where they first go to the wall, and Sansa finally goes to the wall, and like, and she's there with Jon and all these people, and they're just talking about nothing, Golly, what's going on with my? I'm playing around here trying to get some overlays here, and I'm somehow ruined my my situation with my comments. Comments and reactions. There, we're back again. Okay. I was trying to get
I say Nimble Dick and Yezin. Yeah, do those two characters. It'd be interesting.
Nimble Dick and Yezin. They would have some stories to tell. I think Yezin would be like, tell me a story, Nimble Dick. Tell me a story. All right, let's see here. I'm way behind on everything. So back. Unflavored milk. Heard of chicken sushi. I have had raw chicken in Japan. They singe the outside. But I have had raw chicken in Japan. Shows John personality stayed the same after he came back and died. You think book John will come back profoundly different after experiencing death? I think he would. I think George R. R. Martin would put that in. I think he's like building up a religious zealots to follow John in the same way that religious zealots are following Dany. I think that he's creating those two parallel characters. If George were to finish a book, but I think definitely John's personality would be affected by the fact that he comes back from the dead, and he's going to have these religious zealots following him, based on that resurrection. In the same way that Dany's going to have a religious zealots following her. Oh, when Chadwyck blew up and turned into a bot, I wept. Yeah, well, he's not dead, but he did lose his he did lose his cover. But yeah. So my hope with the drinker parody is that people will start saying like dude, you're saying the same thing over and over again, but no, it's never going to happen. We're too small. We're too small to like call him, for our voice to be like, dude, you're being repetitive.
Are you talking about Critical Drinker again?
Yeah.
Yo, Trey. See if Trey said some shit, then that would get his
That's
attention.
True.
But Preston over here wants that smoke for some reason. I don't know why you want that smoke. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why. By the way, I was watching your video and I didn't understand that the message was a Critical Drinker thing, because I've never seen any of his videos.
It's every fucking video. Every fucking video. It's the same joke.
So you telling me he says the message like in every video?
Yeah, and puts up that like image and does like an echoey thing. Yeah, it's a joke in every one of his videos. Yeah.
Yeah, that editing about it being a Russian bot. Yeah. Trey, did you see his breakdown video?
I did. I didn't realize that it was a parody of like a real. Like I knew that it was a parody of like the people that do that kind of stuff. I didn't know it was an actual guy. The message. That's great.
Yeah.
I don't watch his shit, so I didn't know. Is it even funnier now?
Yeah. So one of the things that's actually been on my mind is it's not like I've watched that many of his videos. So, but I watched his review of Prey and of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and stuff, and got a feel for his videos. And one of the things that he didn't get, and this is kind of something I'm going to throw Carmine into the bus again. This is kind of something for Carmine with like being an immigrant and like being between like communities, but like so in Doctor
Let me
Strange,
correct you there. Yeah. Half black Latino immigrant. I sit on the high table of diversity.
I get it. I love it how when people are like, dude, how can you put in Corlys and like isn't there the whole thing with like Jace, Luke, and Joffrey? And I'm like, dude, they can be passing white as a quarter black, and every time like Carmine's like. Dude, I'm half black and passing white. Like, fuck you guys. Do you think like it doesn't exist? Like, I'm fucking half black passing white.
Who are the actors that you told me in private that were like half all these things and you would never know?
So Jennifer Beal. I'm about to say Jessica. Jennifer Beal is half black.
Show a picture of her if you can, because I looked up a picture of her. Holy shit! I would not have guessed that.
No, me neither.
The fucking hottest 57-year-old to like ever exist. Oh my gosh, Jennifer Beal. Let's find her. Here she is. People may know her from like Flashdance and stuff, but there she is. You know, but yeah, she's half black. Obviously, like many people might know her from the L Word as well. Or if she was in Book of Boba Fett, but though she was painted. The other is Zach from Saved by the Bell is half Asian. His mother's Indonesian, and everybody's like, "What? Zach from Saved by the Bell is fucking half Asian?" It's like, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch. Rashida Jones, you know, from The Office, stuff like that. You know.
Rashida Jones, I guess, yeah, that one was a little surprise to me. But Zach Morris, the guy who plays Zach Morris, that I didn't. That was, yeah. Yeah,
but when you look, I mean, oops, let me get this. I'm like dealing with my. Carmine once saw my desktop on a screen share thing conversation we had, and he's like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like I have so many fucking like it's just littered. But yeah, Rashida Jones, I mean Quincy Jones is her father, like, and you know these people are just half black, like, you know, quarter. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about like this ridiculous one of the things that like, oh god, it was just so fucking stupid, because like I understand it's like he's from Scotland and he doesn't get it. So there's a character in Multiverse of Madness named America Chavez, right? And he spends the entire video making this joke, and he replaces America Chavez with various Latin American countries. So he starts calling her Puerto Rico Chavez, Venezuela Chavez, Honduras Chavez, like throughout the entire thing, because he thinks the name America is a dumb name. And it's like he doesn't realize like in the United States, like America like is like a name in the Hispanic community. Like it's not like it's, you know, I understand it's not like super common, but like the name Preston isn't super common. I've met like 7 or 8 Prestons in my life, and it's like, yeah, but no one's ever like Preston. What a weird name. Like it literally like 0.1% of the population in America has the name Preston or less. Like there's a few 100,000 Prestons in America, but like the name America, because America Ferrara was a celebrity, like you had all of these like Hispanic people naming their daughters America. So there's literally like tens of thousands of Americas like in the United States today. So like the joke doesn't really land like, but America's a name. like, like maybe, I get if you're in Scotland and you're not around that and you don't understand that like people name their daughters America in America. But also like not understanding like the meta commentary, like America America is a Hispanic girl from a parallel America that can cross between dimensions, can cross between worlds. Like this is the whole fucking metaphor for like immigrants, right? Like first generation, like second generation immigrants. Like they're like between communities and can cross between, because like in America we like exist in parallel worlds. Like there's these immigrant communities that are around that we don't realize are fucking there, that are right fucking there, parallel to us, that we never interact with. And that's the whole point of the fucking character. And it's actually a really fucking clever character. Like made by Marvel Comics in like 2011. Like that's a really fucking like clever character to have this girl America who's like Hispanic, who can like cross between worlds, because that's what second generation like kids do, or like, I mean, Carmine's not second generation, he's first generation, but like you understand like this idea of crossing between worlds.
Trey, did you watch Multiverse of Madness?
I did not. But this sounds interesting. This is interesting.
Oh, I mean, none of that is explored in the movie. Don't get me wrong. like, they don't explore any of that. They just have the character America Chavez. But like, America Chavez is a really fucking genius concept of a character. Like, oh, she's the second generation girl who can cross between worlds, and her name's America. Like focusing on the insecurity that many Hispanics have in America, that like they're not American enough, that they name their children America because.
But America Chavez is not from Earth, or Earth 616, I think.
No, she's from a parallel America.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm so sorry. I interrupted you. You're going to say I'm going to call out Carmine briefly, and then.
Oh, because anytime I'm like bring up the whole like immigrant plight like kind of stuff, you're like, sometimes you're like get weirded out because you're like, dude, like I don't necessarily want everyone to know, because you're passing American and passing white, and no one would expect, like listening to you, then you're not fully American and fully white. That like me calling out the fact that you're not fully American and fully white, like might put you on the spot and make you feel uncomfortable, and I don't want to do that, but like. That's why I always say like
no. You kept trying to compare me to, and Trey was there for that podcast. You kept trying to compare me to Miss Marvel for some reason, even though like the only thing me and Miss Marvel have in common is that like we both live in Jersey. We both lived in Jersey, and that's it. Everything else is vastly different. Everything else is vastly. By the way, I do want to apologize to the audience for my excessive amount of cursing. I have no excuse for it other than I was raised in New York and Jersey, and that's my excuse.
It's an East Coast thing. Like, if in the East Coast you can tell somebody to fuck off, and it doesn't mean fuck off. It's just like, oh, fuck, fuck you.
It's like Australians with with the C word. I don't want to. I know.
Right. Like when they use the word cunt, it like doesn't have the same impact in America. Like in America, if you call somebody a cunt, it's like, like that's a punch in the gut. Like, you cunt. Like in Australia, they're throwing it around like it's water. Late on this, but if you like NoFX, you should check out their autobiography. Yeah, I've read through it. It's NoFX was a big favorite band of mine for a long time. I've been to at least 10 shows of theirs over my life, though it's been a long time. Yeah, why do you allow karma? We're back to the missing things. Conversation. All this dream stuff is going to tie into the arch nemesis of the A Song of Ice and Fire shows, Palpatine. I mean the three-head crow. I mean the three-head raven. Yeah, I guess that's what they're doing. Like, but the thing is, I guess they could probably retcon the show Thread Raven to still be alive, right? Because they never established him as Bloodraven in the show. So they could still have the three-eyed raven exist.
However, his story ends in the books. Either George has written it out, or he wrote it out, and it was so convoluted and complicated at how they end that they just had the Night King kill him. But I don't know. Do you think he could come back in Snow, the sequel?
Oh yes.
Now, unfortunately, the actor Vax von Sydow passed away in 2020. So we won't be seeing him as a character, but
they'll CGI him. They'll do it.
Oh God. But he died at the old age of 91. And he was a French Swedish actor, but he lived a good long life. Oh man, I didn't realize he was the villain in Buck Rogers, the Buck Rogers movie. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Do I support the blacks or the greens? Black's better, in my opinion. It's hard not to like have a lot of sympathy for the blacks, considering like all the lineages like clearly lead to like either Rhaenys or Rhaenyra ruling. Though someone did put up like the idea that like, okay, well, getting rid of dragons is kind of a noble cause. So like maybe Team Maester like really is like the team to be on. If you don't think dragons are needed to get rid of the White Walkers, and apparently they're not, yeah, I do sympathize with the blacks more. I try to find, like, reading it, I try to find reasons for like Daemon Targaryen. Like, I try to make excuses for Daemon and Rhaenyra, like what really went on, and like, are they really that bad? Though, I mean, there's some stuff I just can't justify. Like, I can't justify fucking Daemon Targaryen using Dark Sister at a tourney. Like, that's just like, fuck you, dude. Like I can justify a lot of shit. Like, oh, that's a story from Mushroom. It didn't really happen. He didn't really plan that assassination. It was somebody else. Like, there's a lot of excuses you can make for Daemon Targaryen. But the fact that he fucking brought Dark Sister into a tourney, like, dude, bro. Can you elaborate on why you dislike the boys comics? I dislike the boys comics because of how basic and simplistic a lot of the early plots are. Now keep in mind, I think the boys comics ends really well. It has a really good ending. But I think that for the most of its run, it was the same crap. Like we get some we're introduced to a new superhero team. There are a bunch of annoying people that need to die. They take Compound V, and then guts are on the wall, and everybody gets killed. And then like that's the end of the comic. And then they do that for fucking years, issue after issue. I also just like, and it's just like there's just a lot of cheap shit. Like Butcher, when he goes to talk to his CIA handler, like they fuck immediately. And then like, he leaves, and it's like he's portrayed as this like badass for years. Only at the very end do they finally come out with actually he was the villain the whole time and you shouldn't have been worshiping him. But like the ridiculousness of him like walking into CIA headquarters and fucking his CIA handler on the desk, like it was just like over the top. Like and the fact that like Butcher is such a shitty, stupid concept of a character, like a shitty human being who is shitty, who was born and raised shitty, always violent, and could be like saved, and he would have been saved except for his like wife. If only they hadn't killed off that wife, he would have been brought back. Like, I thought that was a really stupid idea. And so, but keep in mind, like, I do think the boys ending is for being such a shitty series, like the ending is really fucking good. And they get the message right in the very end. But the fact that they spend too many years like doing what they're doing, I don't know. Just my personal opinion. I think the show is a lot better. I enjoy your time traveling Bran theory, but I think Bloodraven being the three-eyed crow makes sense because he's part Blackwood. Wouldn't a winged wolf make more sense for Bran? I mean, the winged wolf being Bran can be for Bran like no matter what, no matter who, whether the three-eyed crow is also Bran or not. Like Bran can be multiple things. Like there can be multiple like metaphors for who Bran is. But him being a Blackwood, I mean, him being a Blackwood, it's not that Bloodraven doesn't have power. It's not that he's not like joining that tree and like sending visions. I just don't think which is, his Blackwood background like allows him to do that because, he's descended from the Blackwoods of the Wolf's Wood and like has green seer blood in him and everything. But like, but I think like specifically when we're talking about time travel, like Bloodraven told us that he can't time travel. Like he told us that he specifically told us that he tried to affect the past and he couldn't do it. So he like straight out told us that like he's not good enough to time travel. So, so if you think that like the three-eyed crow is a time traveler, and many people don't, but if you think that the three-eyed crow is a time traveler, Bran is the candidate because Bran can time travel.
There's also that really weird moment where Bran asks him if he's the three-eyed crow and he like doesn't understand
the question, right?
Yeah, and he misinterprets it, so it's like,
something like a crow. Now, maybe it's George just gardening, but like and throwing random shit in because that's what George does. But it's a really weird scene. Some people thought like maybe he doesn't know what his own avatar is, like he doesn't know what he looks like, but it does seem like the three-eyed crow knows he's a crow. Like he's asking for corn. He's like talks about flying and wings and things like this. Does he talk? Yeah, I think he talks about wings because Bran specifically asks him, "Why are you a crow?" So he should know that he's a crow. Or the three-eyed crow should know he's a crow. Are you excited about Rings of Power? Do you think it would be better than House of the Dragon, Aragorn versus Jon Snow? Who is a better character? In my personal opinion, I think Jon Snow is a better character than Aragorn. But that's my personal opinion. I'm sure people will kill me for that. But like, now we're talking books here, right?
Jon is flawed. Aragorn is like perfect.
Yeah. And I would even say like show Jon Snow is more interesting to me than Aragorn. But I'm more of a not that I didn't go through my Lord of the Rings like obsession days, but like I do think that Ice and Fire is a better story. But Yoyston can come in later and kill me. So
by the way, real quick. So I'm gonna pull a George Lucas. It's like poetry, it rhymes. I remember. And I need the audience's help for this. Please, guys, help me find this if you guys can. I will pay you $5. I remember right before season 1 of Game of Thrones came out, I was at my mom's house, and she had some magazines on the table, and I pick one up, and I'm going through it because I'm a little bored and waiting for us to leave. And I turned to one page. I don't remember which magazine it was. But on one page, it was Game of Thrones, Sean Bean on the throne. And then on the other page was this show called Camelot from like, I think it was Showtime Camelot. It's obviously about King Arthur. And it's like, who's going to win the fantasy wars? This was like I think 2010, 2011. So obviously Game of Thrones won because I don't even think any of you guys remember Camelot, do you?
I think I found an article. It says Camelot versus Game of Thrones, and it says...
Send it to me. I love you. Send it to me.
It says, vastly superior special effects. Sorry, Thrones, but Camelot is a lot better here.
Well, Camelot got canceled after one season, but I wonder if they're going to do this. It's funny that like we're now getting the prequel to Game of Thrones, and like we're getting another epic fantasy, also a prequel with, Rings of Power. I find that fucking hilarious. So if you guys can send it to me, that would be great. Send it to me on Twitter. I'm active on there, twitter.com/RedTeamReview. Let me see what you got here.
Might be. This isn't a magazine. This is just a post.
Oh, it's a magazine, and like on one page it was
Magazine.
like Sean Bean, and the other one was like Camelot. And I'm like, I wonder who is gonna win. And of course, it was Game of Thrones.
It is very funny about like the meta aspect of producing stories and how they can affect each other, and then and then going forward at like how a story progresses, like this prequel to Lord of the Rings is being written, and so this story is coming out, in response to Ice and Fire, which was like, a whole takedown of Lord of the Rings, and it's just funny how like art and entertainment doesn't live in just one narrative. Like, you can't really understand even the whole narrative without going outside of the narrative to the meta world and like going back in again to reinterpret it. It's really quite weird, right? Like Lord of the Rings was there, Ice and Fire, a rebellion against, or Ice and Fire, a rebellion against it. But because of the Lord of the Rings movie, which got gritty because of the whole like gritty fantasy movement, which wasn't just Ice and Fire, but like, they made the movie a little grittier than the books. And then Game of Thrones gets produced because Lord of the Rings movies did so well. And then they're like, oh, because Game of Thrones show does well, you're going to get the Lord of the Rings prequels and all this kind of weird stuff. But I don't know. They look like very different shows to me. Like one is so clean and has like massive, large scale fantasy scenes and magic and stuff like that. And Hot Dee looks gritty.
Well, someone was saying to me, like, you have to like excuse Lord of the Rings for some of the stuff looking like fantastical, because the elven realms are supposed to look wondrous and fantastical and all that stuff, and this is the age where magic is still there. I forgot the YouTuber's name, and like if this guy did Game of Thrones content, we'd all be screwed because he's that good. But he did like an explain Lord of the Rings thing. I forgot the fucking YouTuber, and he's talking about how Lord of the Rings is really the story of how like everything big and magical and wondrous in this world is winding down. The time of the elves is over, and the time of man is upon us. So it makes sense that in the Second Age, when this takes place, it's still the time of the elves. So everything is nice and wondrous, and it all looks very pretty. That makes sense.
By the way, and I almost don't want to like say it as like an idea, but like I always wanted to like write a novel or create a universe that had the reverse situation. So how like so most books are built on this idea that in the past there was the past was this more mythical fantasy magic time, and this like slowly over time we become more grounded and realistic. And this goes for anything, whether you're reading like 1,000 Years of Solitude or Lord of the Rings. Like there's this idea that the past was magical and filled with gods and myths, and that all dies off, and today we have this like real world, right? Like I would love it if there was a reverse situation where the past was very grounded and real and we knew a lot about it, but over time the world became more magical and filled with gods and myth. Like I would love it if like
now
there was a
you
reverse.
have to write that.
What's that?
Now you have to write that. You can't just say this out loud and not do it. Now, yeah.
But it's like a really hard concept to come up with. Like, in the past, like we were so like controlled by science and like logic, and today, like it's just all magic and gods. We never explore
the
that.
and Indians trilogy. It has to be. Is that the name of the book you're working on? The Minds of Wolves and Indians? Is that it?
No, Dreams of Ghosts and Indians.
Thank you. I'm sorry. It has to be part of the Dreams of Ghosts and Indians trilogy. This has to be.
The world becomes more magical over time. Because the reverse is like the standard, right? That the past was this mythical time, and we can go back in time. There were like gods walking the earth. And
not to be one of those guys, but it still is. Like you still hear people saying, "Well, back when I was young, so
right.
and so was."
Adam lived, walked 1,000 years, or Moses lived 1,000 years, and today, like, people don't have those lifespans and shit. And like, Samuel could stop the sun, and Noah can build an ark. Like, come on,
This person makes a good point. So, a rare bit. He goes, "So the laws of lions suddenly stop working?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, I think I think if it were written, it would make more sense in like a Gabriel Garcia Marquez kind of way. Like, the magical realism would go in reverse, but I don't know. But I'm not saying I have all the kinks worked out. This is just my pitch, my idea.
It's possible in 40K because of the warp. I'm a 40K nerd. The warp, makes everything but it also brings in demons. So there it is. There's your out.
40K. 40K's gotten really complicated with its lore. I feel like they can't keep with the world is so shitty aspect. They're eventually going to bring in like some protagonist characters. To avoid the Tyrion comparisons, would casting a Black, Latino, Native, or Asian dwarf help make Mushroom more distinct character if included in the show? That's actually a very good idea. That's a very good idea. Like, why not? Like, to make him less of a Tyrion clone, like cast a minority little person. Yeah, no, tell it to the writers' room. I think they just cut Mushroom. I don't think there's going to be any Mushroom in the show.
I'll defend this, and I actually wanted Trey's opinion on this because Trey recently went through Fire and Blood, and Trey, you saw a lot of the comparisons to the main series, right? Like, we actually get a pair of Lannister twins in around the time of Viserys and Aegon II. I think it was Jason and Highland Lannister. There's a lot of like these minor little comparisons to Ice and Fire already as it is. Do we really need one more?
Yeah, no, Trey? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think cutting Mushroom might be a smart idea, for like maybe several reasons. Like, I think people will be kind of like, we kind of had this already with Peter Dinklage's Tyrion, and like the Mushroom character was like a little over the top, and sometimes I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if there's any comic relief in House of the Dragon, in Hot Dee. Hot Dee. I mean, maybe they'll bring him in later seasons or something. I think it's a pretty good idea, though, to just have a character that at least looks physically distinct from Peter Dinklage. Yeah.
The funny thing is that, like, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Trey.
I was gonna say, like, the end of the first season, it's like a mushroom reveal. It's like a Marvel movie. Doom. And cuts to black instantly.
Like, after the credits, like.
Well, the funny thing about Mushroom is in his a lot of his testimonies, isn't he there in the corner? And because he is who he is, nobody pays attention to him. So people are just fucking and just doing all this like insane debauchery in front of him, and they just don't care. Like, isn't like threesomes with Rhaenyra and Laenor and his gay lover, and like it's just, and then Mushroom's just there in the corner,
the corner, and like we don't have any reference to. He's just in the back. He's just in the background of everything.
I guess I would love it if they had Mushroom, but he's like off on the side. Like, if you blink, you'll miss him, and like he's always in the corner of every shot. That would be fun. I'd be fine with that Easter egg.
That's also a very good idea. That's also a very good idea that he's just in the background. So I used to watch Star Trek Voyager, and Voyager is kind of funny because there was, they kind of state at the beginning of the show that the crew they get warped to the Delta Quadrant, and so the ship is kind of small, and like half the crew dies in the first episode. So they've got this skeleton crew, and they say it's like 160 people. And so what's funny is that, like, of course, these are Star Trek fans, and so like over the course of the series, they start like observing like all of the extras and like naming all of the extras, and like when people talk and they talk about different characters like on the show, like, oh, I heard you had a date with one of the the blah blah twins, and you're like, up character, do. Oh, I got a report in from like Ensign Smith, and they're like, oh, Ensign Smith is a character, and so they were keeping like a catalog of like all of like the crew on the ship to make sure that it didn't go over like 160, like because that's a fairly limited thing. It was very different from like Next Generation, where you have like nearly 1,000 people or something on the Enterprise, and you're like, well, it's different. So, but it'd be but to have like the same extras being seen in the background. And what's funny is that like season to season they would use the same extras. Like they were a little careful on it, that you wouldn't all of a sudden see a random dude that wasn't there before. So it was kind of
Did the catalog go over the number?
No, it didn't even get close. No, it didn't even get close. They got up to like 70 or something. They like identified like 70 members of the crew, but it wasn't even. It was like halfway. Yeah, they never got close, but it was funny. And they got much further on references versus like visual. Also, like there came a time where like, okay, you get somebody visually, but how do I know it's not the same person as somebody you've talked about? So it's like, how do we know that they're not like they're not the same person? So there was kind of like two catalogs going at once on who these people were. But yeah, no, they should definitely have Mushroom in the background somewhere, in the bedroom, behind a curtain.
Just his legs poking out.
But I think it's a good point that they kind of make him physically distinctive. Are there any chapters that give you goosebumps while reading? Danny 4, epilogue, prologue, Ned 12 came to mind for me. Yeah. When I think of like chapters in Ice and Fire that like where like I finished the chapter and I'm like, holy shit, what a great chapter. I mean, you'll probably like hear me like go to death on this, but like the final Daenerys chapter of Game of Thrones, the King's Moot, the Forsaken chapter, I think A Dance with Dragons epilogue, I think A Storm of Swords epilogue. Trying to think any others that really where I'm like, oh man, that's a.
I like the Crows maybe one of my least favorites, but I do like the Feast for Crows epilogue.
You mean there's no epilogue in A Feast for Crows? You mean Sam 5? Yeah.
I'm sorry, not the epilogue. The prologue is what.
Oh, the prologue, yeah. Oh, the prologue is good, yeah.
I like the prologue for Dance with Dragons too, with like the White Walkers showing up and the weird like mind swapping possession stuff. It's kind of cool.
It is good, but though it took me like a few reads before I really got into the prologue of A Dance with Dragons. Like, because you crack open that book and you're like, give me these. Give me to the people I care about. Fucking Varamir. Who the fuck is Varamir Sixskins? Like he was totally in A Storm of Swords. You blink and you'll miss him. Fuck. A few days ago, I found out that the Redwyne Fleet was present during the siege at Storm's End. Why not use them? Stannis shouldn't wait a year for a fleet. He would just board the ships with loyal crew and head for Dragonstone. Thoughts? So first, I'm like first Siege of Storm's End or the second Siege of Storm's End for this. I'm a little confused. So during the first, if the Redwyne, it was probably the Redwyne Fleet during both. But they're not owned by Stannis. They're a private fleet. So like as master of ships, like they're not part of the royal fleet. So like Stannis can't like take control of them. So one of the weird things about like medieval ships, and I'm not even like George is somewhat aware of this, that is that in medieval times, ships were not built as warships, even though in Ice and Fire, like there's warships, like in the actual Middle Ages, people didn't build separate ships from warships. Like commercial ships were like doubled. And there was a reason for this. Is there's nothing that was existed at the time that would make a ship a warship. Like, you didn't have cannons in the side yet. You didn't have gunpowder. Like, these sorts of things didn't exist. Like, maneuverability and stuff. Like, for the most part, like, sea battles were sail by really close and have everybody shoot arrows at each other or try to ram each other. And there's a lot of ramming in medieval ship warfare. And like, it being like putting a ram on a commercial ship with a sail was like no different from having a warship. So like, when we hear about the Redwyne Fleet and this huge commercial fleet that they have, it's pretty good as a war fleet too. So in peacetime, so it's not like Stannis can just take the Redwyne Fleet because it's their commercial fleet. But at the same time, like, the Redwynes still have this military power because the fleet doubles. You know, like, there's not really a difference between warship and commercial ship, even though in Ice and Fire they start talking about warships being built and stuff. And George is somewhat aware of this because Victarion like steals commercial ships and like joins them to his fleet, and they're part of his fleet, you know, and they're pretty good. So Stannis just wasn't able to use these things. Like, they weren't his to take. He was master of ships for the crown. So he had like royal ships, and then later when he's trying to be king, he gets like Mirish cell sails and pirates, right? And the Redwynes are the Redwyne twins are taken hostage, so they can't even join the war. So the Redwynes are just kind of have to sit on their hands. So it's kind of the whole situation with that. Random, but have you heard of this guy Peter Zehan? I've been listening to him talk about how China is going to implode on itself for a bunch of reasons. I feel like I haven't heard that ever, but this guy was dope. There's all sorts of, like, when you start getting into China watchers, you do get these kind of grifters that like some of them are constantly saying like China is going to like be the next world power and overtake everybody and like rule the world. And then you've got ones that are like, any moment now they're going to explode. They're going to implode. And so neither thing seems to happen. But these people have been like forecasting this stuff since I was a child too. And so China definitely has problems. It has huge problems. It has a very large migrant workforce that the Chinese government and I'm talking like 150 million people who like travel through the country doing construction projects that are kept employed by state-sponsored programs. And you always say like, okay, the minute China's economy like dips, they won't be able to afford these people, and then you've got all these unemployed people and stuff like that. But China always seems to be able to afford them, and eventually like China's economy might dip, but so much of their economy is government spending that it's hard to actually have like a huge like plummet. I mean, if there was one thing that was going to crash China, it was COVID, and it didn't happen. So I would say like, don't count on China imploding anytime soon. And these things that also like implosions rarely happen all at once. Like, we kind of saw it with the Soviet Union, but that was a lot of political reasons for that. Like, downfalls happen slowly, sometimes over the course of hundreds of years. So, right, Trey, like thinking about the Roman Empire and how like everybody likes to believe like the sacking of Rome, but it was really like more of a slow descent over hundreds of years.
It took a very, very long time. It wasn't this. And then like same thing with like the Bronze Age collapse too. It took a much longer time. It wasn't like an instant. People had a highly structured system of government, and then they woke up one day and it was gone, or within like a year. It was very slow.
No, the Sea Peoples like took down the Hittites in one day, and then they took down the Egyptians the next day. That was it. They have these like multi-generational like references to these battles, like the Sea Peoples, and then we killed them, and then we killed them again, and it's like 30 years later or 40 years later. Like, You just write about it all at once. It's like I do wonder about like in 100 years and 200 years how like American wars are going to be like thought of, like will they even think that there's two separate Iraq wars or whatever, like, the British had a bunch of Afghan wars. I don't separate them in my mind. We barely separate the Punic wars,
Right.
It's and I also wonder about like retroactive naming of empires and countries. Like in retrospect, are we going to think of certain countries as distinct? Like, how like the Holy Roman Empire, like kind of existed and kind of didn't exist, but it was kind of a retroactive naming of something. Or Byzantium, like Byzantium isn't a thing, but we retroactively call something Byzantium, right? Are they just going to do that with Western society or America or Europe? Like how long would America be considered a distinct entity?
That's a really interesting idea, because I'm thinking about like Alexander the Great Empire, which it really didn't exist. It's not like this unified like I don't know thing that existed. It was very fragmentary and it never had a centralized system, but people still call it an empire.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question about like if the United States will have something similar.
Right. They always show those maps of like the Roman Empire at its greatest extent. And it's like, not really, I've got like client kingdoms and allies. And like, just because you take one city doesn't mean you have control over like the entire area. And like, they
Right.
love to show these things. Like, but I mean, even the concept of the Roman Empire being an empire, right? Like they were calling themselves like, the emperor was a princeps, and like they still like called themselves a republic, even though they weren't, So,
Have you answered this question yet?
The one are you guys watching Sandman on August 5th on Netflix? I just saw like that the trailer came out, but
I think Gwendolyn Christie, who plays Brienne of Tarth, I think she's Satan.
Oh, really?
I think. But anything I see with Netflix on it, I fucking hesitate, because Netflix 10 years ago or like 8 years ago, whoa, it's on Netflix? Oh, bro, I'm there. Netflix now?
I mean, yeah, people are trashing Netflix now, but if at the same time, everybody fucking loved Stranger Things season 4 and Bridgerton season 2. So like their bread and butter is still there. But
I haven't really heard much. Like Bridgerton hasn't like penetrated to the cultural zeitgeist to where I'm like hearing good shit about it. But
you have to know more women.
I do. None of them watch Bridgerton, or none of them.
They fucking love Bridgerton. They love themselves.
Really?
Bridgerton.
But Netflix is Stranger Things is from that bygone era of Netflix. Like the first episode premiered in 2016.
Yeah.
So it's from that bygone. I'm talking about new stuff. So
yeah, I mean, all the streaming services are hurting except for Disney right now, right? Like, I mean, and Amazon, who doesn't fucking care because they own the world, right? So like, but HBO is like I was saying, like HBO's biggest show is Euphoria, and their second biggest show is reruns of Friends, which is yeah, like those are the two most watched shows on HBO right now. So they're all hurting except for Disney.
It seems like House of the Dragon is HBO's like last ditch to get people back.
Betting the farm on it, man. Betting the farm on it.
Because even Euphoria, which I've watched, it's like it took so long for them to get a second season out of it that like people might move on if it just takes way too long.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be tough, especially considering that Zendaya is like the actress that they want to put in everything these days to like, or keep her on board. Because she doesn't want to just be stuck like when she's been cast in all of these like huge blockbuster movies, like so yeah. remember when everyone was angry about Zendaya being cast as Mary Jane?
Was that a thing? I don't remember.
Yeah, when they were like, they had to make Mary Jane black.
She's getting unnecessary. She gets a lot of unnecessary hate. Right today, actually, there's a new controversy with her, and she didn't even do anything. Basically, they were comparing her to this other black actress, and they're saying how Zendaya's success is due to colorism because she's light skinned, and this other actress, who I guess they're the same age and have the same upbringing and same background, is like darker skin tones. So like I feel like everyone is just trying to like bring her into controversies for no reason. She seems very nice.
Yeah.
Or Zendaya.
I mean, it's all because she's the hottest, like, actress out there. They want to, like, they know that if they put Zendaya in a headline, that you're gonna get clicks. I do think it's funny. I think about these. There's this Onion article years ago when Tom Hanks was at his height. He just won his like second Oscar in a row, and the idea about like in an alternate universe, the other guy from Bosom Buddies, like like in an alternate universe, the other guy from Bosom Buddies has like 2 Oscars and is like the biggest actor in the world. Like, I do think like how the other actress from Shake It Up must feel. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like does she feel like she's an absolute failure? That she hasn't gone anywhere. Like, how does she feel?
Bella Thorne. Let's see.
Is that her name? Bella Thorne. Yeah.
She's
poor Bella Thorne.
She was in Chick Fight.
What's gonna happen? I mean, what's gonna happen to her? We need to put her in Dune.
If you're talking about the woman who's like being compared to Zendaya, it's some woman named KK. I don't know her name, but Hollywood always has like these specific like groups of people that's hot for like a decade, maybe half that, and then they move on to the next person. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I mean, Hollywood in general. It was Kevin Hart for like a couple years ago. It was Kevin Hart and everything, and now it's not anymore. And it's like The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It's him right now, and then give it a couple years, it won't be him anymore.
Yeah. And the thing is, those actors have to be careful. There's certain actors that were really careful with their branding. And I'm going to say Leonardo DiCaprio, it was really careful with his branding. Like, he was blowing up. He's the biggest fucking thing ever. And he's like, okay, I'm going to use that to get cast with the best directors and be in the best quality movies. And now he's untouchable. He's fucking Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, no, like, right? Like, and it's a lot different from like people that just are just like, every movie I'm going to be overexposed, and then they're gone, So, I feel like it's gonna happen with The Rock, right? I don't know. Like, eventually people are, or Ryan Reynolds, like, eventually are people going to get sick of their shtick? Like, they don't have like the artsy, like legitimate movies to back them up,
Who has so much range? I would say, he played Jim Gordon in the Dark Knight trilogy. I forgot his name.
I will say that fucking Kylo Ren is an example of a guy who's doing Adam Driver is like doing the smarter path of like Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, take that clout and invest that clout in a fucking good movie with fucking good directors where you're given a chance to show your acting chops, and then like fucking like move on from there.
Gary Oldman is like fucking oof. I loved him in The Fifth Element. He was great in that.
Yeah.
I loved him as the peacock in Kung Fu Panda 2. He was great. No, that's not a joke. He's awesome in that movie.
Some actors are so good that like they can be in shit and it doesn't matter. It doesn't stain them. Like Michael Caine, Anthony Hopkins, like they have so many shitty movies. They'll take every role, but it's fine because it's fucking Michael Caine and Anthony Hopkins. Gary Oldman is another one of those guys. He'll take any role, but it's fucking Gary Oldman. Like, you can't fucking touch his brand. Jeremy Irons is another one. You can't fucking touch him. He'll take any role.
Jeremy Irons was in that like awful Dungeons and Dragons, like the original one from the early 2000s, and he was so bad in it, but I guess he just had fun with it.
Yeah. Hot take: all dragons should die. George makes it clear dragons are a metaphor for nukes. Nukes are incredibly dangerous. Killing dragons is good. Yeah, I mean, I think we discussed this before with the Maesters and like are the Maesters actually the good perspective? Like, if I think people's justification for the Nukes is that like there's going to be this like enemy coming from the north, this boogeyman, but and I think for a long time I had the there is no boogeyman opinion when I interpret Ice and Fire, and then Game of Thrones was like, no, the boogeyman's real, but the dragons weren't really very useful, so I don't know. So I don't know what the statement is being made about them. Doesn't sound like we need them, So, have you guys read Brian K. Vaughan comics Last Man and Saga? Have you heard of Cyber 6? Have you guys? I've never.
Last Man, I actually have an app where I can read comics for free because once a pirate, always a pirate. Napster, baby, LimeWire. I have Last Man is a comic that's on my to read list, but they also, funny enough, made a Last Man TV show where the guy is literally the last man on the planet and women run everything. So it's an interesting premise. It's a very
so he's getting laid a lot.
We don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet or read into it, but yeah, Cyber 6. That sounds familiar. But to this person, I don't really know too much yet.
If you were the last man on the earth, like, and everybody's like, oh, how lucky it would be, I'd get laid all the time, you'd probably be like captured and chained up and then like the slave of whoever the richest woman was, It would probably be that situation. So you probably wouldn't want to be the last man on earth.
Or they would do research on you as to why you survived and the other men didn't.
Be in the lab. They're not letting you like walk the street like as a bachelor, Never really liked the Boys writer because of his edgelord junk, I guess. Starlight blowing the team, I get it, but dude, the team, yeesh. So interesting thing, this is back on the Boys. So originally when they wrote Starlight in the Boys comic, Starlight was a one-note character. They included her as a joke, that she was like the seven were a bunch of evil douches that needed to be killed, and Starlight was this pathetic character who just wanted to be part of the team so much that she like was going to be just abused. And in fact, they kind of made the deep into her character in the show. And so she was a one-note character. Like they were just going to be like, she was just going to be abused by them for the whole thing. And that was the original plan. And then all of a sudden they came up with the scene of like Starlight meeting Huey in the park. And they're like, oh, this is actually a more interesting route to go. And so they went with it. But originally, like in her first conception, she was just going to be a pathetic, deep character that was going to be like this insecure, like wannabe superhero that was going to be just, the butt of the joke constantly. Okay. How do I know so much about the Halloween movies? I just have seen all the Halloween movies. It's not like I've seen them multiple times. I just have seen them all. The Halloween movies are funny because of their contradictory lore and like trying to figure out like what happens in them. Like Halloween 4 to 6 is very funny. I think also, you know what? I tried to write a cracked article about the Halloween movies that never came out. For those that don't know, I've got a few cracked articles under the name Preston Xander from way back in the day. But have you guys ever read my cracked articles?
I did. Does Trey know about this? Trey,
I have not. Preston Xander.
Yeah, Preston Xander with an X, cracked, and you'll see my list of. I think I have like four or five articles.
Oh, here they are.
Nightmarish, the cartoons that secretly take place in nightmarish universes. Yeah.
6 creepy things you never noticed.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Trey, link me some of those on Discord, please. I want to.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I read one of them. How many do you have? Like multiple?
I think I just have 5.
6, 5, yeah, something like that. Let's see.
It's interesting, like having like spent some time, this is years ago, having spent time in like that writer's room with the cracked kind of people, and like you kind of get to know their personalities. Like they've all moved on and they were fired and then moved on. But like, you know,
I love this is my favorite one, Scooby Doo, because I love Scooby Doo as a kid. Scooby Doo, where are you? Life in a shattered economy. Yeah. Everybody used to run scams. Yeah.
Right, like everything's
geniuses,
abandoned and like all of the like these are PhDs. They were like doing scams to like, you know, yeah.
They're all super geniuses, and not one of them can make an honest living. Yeah, pretty much.
But they were all just like right, like it was a lot of work, and you'd get like a lot of rejected articles, and like you only got paid $100, $150. It was quite a racket they had. You got paid $150 for like really hard work to like produce the articles, and it was under the premise that like, oh, if you have enough published articles, like you can go on and be like a writer, and so some people you know did that a little bit, but it was few and far between. It was mainly just for fun, like. But yeah, you got to know kind of the editors who were all working there, like Soren Bowie and Dan O'Brien and stuff. You kind of get to know their personalities. As like editors and writers, and like who's friendly, like Soren Bowie was like super friendly and supportive and like would give really great constructive criticism. Like I would love to like, and then like Dan O'Brien was like super curt and was just like, no, we're not going with that, done, like move on, like, and you're like, oh, like, so it was like weird stuff. But I think Soren Bowie went on to write for American Dad, and Dan O'Brien is working for Last Week Tonight and stuff like that. So
you should really do a video on these, like just put your
in fact a few were used for their videos. Like there's a video of like Soren Bowie and Cody Johnson, who does Some More News. They do a video based on my Flintstones and Jetsons meeting thing and stuff like that. So it's funny, like these like weird like at the time, like these weird moments of like, oh my gosh, like they chose my article and like they're doing this video on it.
I think back in the day I may have watched that video because I like that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
You never knew it was Preston the whole time. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird stuff. I remember once being out in DC for like Halloween, and like some person was dressed as Doug, and I was like, "Have you ever read the article like this kind of like this about Doug?" And he's like, "Oh my god, that was you!" Like that kind of weird shit. Let's see. Yeah, no, but I was trying to do an article on trying to reconcile the Halloween movies that perhaps they just take place out of order, kind of like the Fast and the Furious movies, that if you place like Halloween 4, 5, and 6 after Halloween, like 7 and 8, does like the timeline work? I'm trying stuff like that. Like I was trying to do an article, I think like series that makes more sense out of order, but I don't think it doesn't work really. It doesn't work at all.
Doug, where mentally insane children are left to suffer. Oh my god. Oh shit.
Notice that the San Diego Comic-Con convention that George R. Martin slimmed down a lot. Really?
He looked good. He looked better. I saw like the picture of him with like the cast. He looked a little bit better than how I remembered him. But maybe that's my mind just playing tricks on me.
I noticed that he was wearing shirts with like higher collars to hide his double chin, and stuff like that.
We need the sleuths who are like convinced that Putin has like every cancer in the book to come in here and to analyze George R. R. Martin. You know what I'm talking about? Like the fucking people who think he has like Parkinson's or something.
Yeah, no, we haven't talked about the Comic-Con panel. I watched it, and it was... I think Dragon Demands is going to be upset because it was quite clear that they were given the questions beforehand. They all had very nice prepared answers. The only questions that seemed a little more spontaneous is they allowed like 4 or 5 like audience questions, and the audience questions were like so dumb that they couldn't have prepared for them. Like some guy went up there and like asked Matt Damon about Morbius, and he's like,
I mean,
not
that's
Matt
fair.
Damon,
That's
Matt
fair.
Smith. Yeah.
That's fair. Morbius has been very like in the news and the memes. That's fair. But like someone asked him a cameo question, like, "Are you going to cameo?" And I've always wanted him to be like Stan Lee, where he cameos at least once every season. Maybe in season 3 of Thrones, he was at the Red Wedding. Maybe in season 2, he's like, one of the villagers at Winterfell when Theon takes over. Like, or maybe in season 7, he's one of the Reach Lords who come to see what Cersei wants. Like, I always wanted him to do that, but he said no, he's not going to cameo until he gets the book out. So, okay. Whatever.
Like,
so you're not going to cameo?
So you're not going to cameo? Like,
he said he hasn't even visited the set, and he's like, maybe I'll visit the set when I finish the books if the show. And then he said if the show is still running.
It's
like
years from now.
Like this statement, like it sounds like maybe I'll like when he says like when the book's finished, you kind of think that it's coming, and then it's like if the show is still going. Like oh.
So you watched the Comic-Con. Is there anything like of interest in it?
No.
Because I
No.
I figured as much.
No. It was very prepared answers from everybody. Like, they'd ask the question and then it was very formulaic. Like somebody would have like a joke and then sometimes it would land and sometimes it wouldn't. And then they would have like, I think, and then they would explain everything. And there was no stumbling. There was no thought. There was no like looking up, like things that people do when they're coming up with answers on the fly, of like, let me think about this, or, it's just none of that. Like it was just, and I haven't answered. Some of them were very long, like well answers, but it was very clear that they had like prepared, they had prepared this kind of stuff. So
the best Game of Thrones panel. I'm sorry, Trey, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to bring up the fact that like I told Carmine this about like how like George brings up the George Bush head. In several different like interviews, and you're like, oh, not this again. It's like your grandpa telling you the same story.
Oh yeah. And then he went the fucking Faulkner line again. I'm like, really? You're gonna do the fucking William Faulkner line? How many fucking times have I heard about the fucking heads in Faulkner?
The best Comic-Con panel had none of the actors or showrunners. The best Comic-Con panel for Game of Thrones was in season 8 when it was that year that season 8 ended, and Seth Rogen was doing a preacher panel, and Seth Rogen's like, well, the showrunners were supposed to be here, but I guess didn't show up, so you could ask me Game of Thrones questions and I will try to answer them. That's my shitty Seth Rogen impression.
That's pretty fun. That's pretty fun though. I do love his little comment because he's just like, and it didn't make sense. Brand didn't have the best story. Like pretty concise, right? Pretty concise. What is the probable scenario for the downfall of democracy in the United States? How close are we to that situation? Probable downfall is looking pretty much right now. I mean, it's the probable downfall is, someone like DeSantis is like elected and he's got like a majority of the Congress and everything, and they just start having more and more laws to make it harder for people to register to vote, and the Supreme Court will have more and more decisions to make it harder for people for certain demographics to vote, and it won't happen all at once. It'll be a slow decline, but that's the way I see it. The way, but. Hopefully if we can stave it off, keep some of these maniacs out of power, but it's we're in a bad situation. We're in a bad situation because the Supreme Court is like locked in for so long. I mean, that Amy Coney Barrett is going to live until probably 120 years old, and she's only like 25 now, so I know, that's right. She's gonna go on and on, and you're like, oh god, this is these sad things, right? Like, let's look at this. Amy Coney Barrett's age. Okay, Amy Coney Barrett is 50. The life expectancy of a white woman who makes it to 60, I think, is 92. So we're talking like she's probably going to live until she's 90 years, be on the court for 40 fucking years, right?
Oh my
Like,
god.
I will probably die when she will be still on the court. Like, I will never see her not on the court.
That's Trump's
That's a rough
lasting
one.
legacy.
Yeah.
That's a rough one.
Yeah. 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 So that's the thing. It's just, it's certain things are baked in to American democracy. I mean, maybe the issues will change, and stuff shifts around, but our only hope is to like just keep electing Democrats over Republicans because
Actually, there's this Democrat that was running, but he used the wrong pronoun, so now we can't elect him, and he has to be canceled. We have to tear him down from office because fuck him.
Yeah. Carmine is making the joke that Democrats love to fuck the circular firing squad of Democrats, and like bashing each other.
Dude,
like
that dipshit that did the racist that complained about you and me, like giving the platform to
racist,
it's
like right up that alley, right? Like two people that like everybody considers bleeding heart liberals, and we're not royal enough, we're not holy enough.
And to be fair, it's not that we're like we should be above criticism. Like the left should criticize each other, but at the fucking ferocity they do it in. Like we were talking in my Discord, we were talking about Al Franken.
Yeah.
Like that was a little ridiculous. Like you can hold his feet to the fire, sure, but like getting him out of really Al Franken's the guy we're comparing to the Weinstein, right, who they compared him to Weinstein, really.
Oh my god, yeah. The guy like hugged some people and they were angry that like he like brushed their boob. Like he literally had no like proven sexual harassment claims. It was like some people that hugged him. Yeah, no, it was pretty. Al Franken is like the example of like the guy who like shouldn't have been canceled that was canceled, considering like what Trump has gotten away with, but yeah, we're pretty bad. Like even when you see like YouTube politics, like Vosh, Destiny, Hassan, like they should all be friends. They all like agree, like for the most part, on like politics, but they fucking hate each other and they like don't talk to each other, even though they all pretty much agree. And like there are people that are fans of all of them, or like and like the viewers are like, oh no, you guys should totally be friends again, and they're like, no, and they fucking hate each other, and they get in these criticisms. And when I did the Destiny stream, yeah, I got a lot of messages from people that are like, can't believe you'd sit down with this person. He did X, Y, and Z, and it's like, well, nobody's perfect. Some people say some weird stuff. And then other people take stuff people have said out of context and try to like bash them. They clip them and stuff like that. But
are you going to do a talk with Vosh?
I mean, if I could look, I think he hasn't been talking with people recently. I mean, if I could talk with Vosh, I would talk with Vosh. I mean, why not? He'd be great. I mean, I might be able to pull it. I might be able to pull my clout like during like Hot Dee season. Right, when like my views go up or something, and then like wrangle it then, I'm sure Trey could get his attention.
Oh. Here on the stream.
This is why I love Trey, because, and I was telling this to Preston last time, Trey, like. People always put in the fucking chat, and I hate it so much, you guys should collaborate with this Game of Thrones YouTuber. Yeah, but no, I would rather collaborate with people who don't talk about Ice and Fire, who really like Ice and Fire and want to talk about it, because they always usually have like the best takes or like, more interesting things to say, versus like some random Thrones YouTuber who's either a carbon copy of Preston or Comic Book Girl 19. It's just like, what's the point in that? That's just boring. I would rather get like someone like you or or even Vosh to talk about Thrones, or even Destiny. Like, I like that you and Destiny talked about Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to get something outside of the echo chamber, because we forget because there's echo chamber shit like like is Damon and Chad Summerchild going to be a thing? We'll see. You know, I'm gardening with Damon. Chad. I did realize that like some people, like there are a lot of messages like I have no idea, because it's actually been kind of a while since like before the trailers that like Chad Summerchild appeared, and so a lot of people are like, who the fuck is this? Like, what's going on? And I realized like to know Chad Summerchild, you have to know like this long history of everything he did like in the previous Game of Thrones seasons shit, like or like Gilbert Farwind and stuff. It's really hard to get into that. Like it is pretty inaccessible now that I have like, you know, 7 years of Chad Summerchild lore.
The Gilbert Farwind like cracks me up all the time. I love it. The voice that you put on for him.
That might have been my first funny video. Was the original like where are the Ironborn? For those that don't remember, way back in the day, before Euron even appeared, right? Because Euron didn't appear until what, season 6? We'd gone 5 seasons and they just cut all the Ironborn plots, and we're like, okay, well, I guess that's it. No Kingsmoot or anything. So I did this like video of the Kingsmoot, where Gilbert Farwind wins. And then I don't know, went on from there.
I wonder if this like this poor extra that you took like his little picture,
And now
he
he's
knows
gone.
if he knows that he's like this inside joke.
I'd love to find him. If anybody could find the actor that played the Gilbert Farwind extra, who by the way he appears for 1 second on when Yara is like, we're gonna get Theon.
Season 3, episode 10. He appears very briefly.
And he does this like weird, because there's this like it's funny because there's this 1 second like pause on him that's just like incidental, like completely by accident, that they did. Like she walks by and there's like 1 second pause and he kind of turns and he's a nobody. He's a fucking extra. He never appears again. But like once he's Gilbert Farwind, you're like, fuck, Gilbert Farwind.
Could find him and like get him to cameo, like do like the
if we could find Gilbert Farwind, please cameo extra.
He'll be on cameo. Oh shit!
Oh my gosh!
Holy shit!
I would love, and if he could somehow like do the Gilbert Farwind voice. I'm Gilbert Farwind. I can't even do it now. Gilbert Farwind of the Lonely. My voice has been fucked up for weeks. I think I got like, even though I never have a fever or anything, I think I got like COVID or something, because I don't know, but I didn't have any symptoms except for like a cough, and then now my voice has been fucked up for weeks.
Oh man. So, Carmine, what episode is he in? I want to find him.
It's it should be season 3, episode 10. It's where Ramsay sends like the box of Theon's cock to his father, and his father is like, he's not a man anymore. And then
they do a montage of Yara getting ready to go find Theon.
That is so funny.
She even mentions the right like stretch of water that she needs to sail up. I think she said, what was it?
We're gonna sail around Westeros and sail up the
what's that river that goes up there? I forgot the fucking name of it, but yeah, she mentions it too, and it's
the White Knight.
The Weeping Water.
The Weeping Water.
Oh.
Yeah, White Knife goes up to Winterfell.
So she goes through the Stepstones and everything?
Yeah.
Oh wow. What an adventure.
And then she just turns her tail and bravely runs away. She pulls a Josh Hawley. She talks a big game, and then she runs away.
Bro, where are you running from? Why are you running? It's the insurrection you started. You should be at the helm. What do you mean? Where are you running from, bro? Get back here. You mean the inbred idiots you riled up? You don't want to hang out with them? What? Stop. That's crazy.
Any horror novel recs? I read Rosemary's Baby. House of Leaves, I think, is pretty good. I'm trying to think of any other ones that are kind of different. That I don't know. You guys have any horror novels that you like?
Horror novels. I'm gonna sound like a nerd for liking some of George's stuff. Some of like the Thousand Worlds stuff that's kind of horror-y is pretty good. Trying to think of one in particular. Pear-Shaped Man was pretty spooky, I gotta say.
That's pretty. Pear-Shaped Man is pretty creepy. Yeah, it all depends on like what kind of horror you like, right? Like some people really like gross out death horror, vulgar stuff, body horror shit, and then other people like lingering suspense horror, and other people like really dark concepts, kind of horror. Which is kind
Trey's
of
a little too young, but I don't know if he remembers because I don't know if I think this is after Preston's time, but my generation read Goosebumps. That was our horror shit. I don't know if you read that, Trey.
I watched Goosebumps. I got I watched the TV show. It was pretty spooky.
I do think in retrospect, I think a lot of people really like Event Horizon as a horror movie because it has all of the different horror genres in it. Like it has creepy, dark concept horror that you dwell on and think about, and then it's got body horror, a lot of fucking body horror, and then it's also got some interesting deaths in it as well. Especially, well, I guess the kid doesn't even die, but like the kid going into space in Event Horizon is quite a scene. I cried during a movie today, first time in years. Are there any movie situations that make you cry?
The movie I asked him in the chat. The movie he cried in was the Adam Sandler comedy Click.
No way.
I get teary-eyed in movies a lot. I used to not ever when I was a kid, but tends to be for stuff like the Leftovers, for example. I got teary-eyed a lot during that entire series, but it tends to be a lot of stuff dealing with like death and family and things like that. And I'm trying to think like a few others recently where I really got choked up for, because I have been, and I'm kind of, oh, you know what, like fuck, I've actually choked up at some fucking Pixar movies. I think I choked up at the end of what's the one about the trolls who go on the fucking Onward. Yeah, I think I choked up at the end of that one.
I choked up. My sister, we were on the airplane and she was watching Finding Nemo, and she was watching it. I just looked over and it was the scene where Marlin learns that thinks his son is dead, and he's grieving over it, and it was literally making me tear up. Even though I wasn't listening to the audio, it was just seeing the visuals. Oh, it's terrible. It's a terrible thing. A parent to believe their child's dead and outlive their children.
Oh yeah,
that's terrible. That's horrible.
I have this one I remember this one conversation with an ex-girlfriend I had where she's like what's your biggest fear? I hate spiders. And I'm like, my biggest fear, I'm probably having a kid and then having it die. And she's she's she was really disappointed. She's no, I what if I could I meant she clearly wanted something some irrational thing, me not liking roaches or something, but
clowns or something.
Right, when I actually named real fear, I'm something that who fucking cares about fucking spiders? Jesus Christ.
I found that after being in a relationship, I cry way easier at movies and stuff. It's
oh yeah,
yeah, because now you know how it feels. A lot of the Studio Ghibli movies make me cry now.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of it as well has to do with human beings are social animals, and you find yourself doing what the crowd does. So like this is the big thing about like lynch mobs, right? Like how can these people do this? Well, you got to remember when a group is doing something, you like are biologically compelled to do it. Like if everybody else is laughing, you're going to laugh. In the Middle East, they have this thing called ululation, zagarit. If you go like all other people will start doing it. Like it's really fucking weird. Like it's got to be during a celebratory situation. Like you can't like just do it randomly in a crowd and but it's like when people tell jokes, if everybody is laughing, you're going to be more likely to laugh. If you yawn, other people yawn. Like there's just something to it. And I think there's something to as well, like movies. And like if you're sitting next to somebody who's also feeling the movie, you're going to feel the movie,
Yeah. That's a good point. No, I definitely see that.
Let's see. Donald Trump movie Downfall style with his rant scene being Pence not supporting him after the aftermath of the riot failing. Damian Lewis as Trump. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. It's funny how like real life happens slower and not all at once. Like, we're finally seeing the downfall of Trump like in these little bits, like little bit at a time. Like, but yeah, eventually it's going to be dramatized. Absolutely, it's going to be dramatized. Considering they had a W movie, like there was a W movie.
There was this recent Trump thing. I don't know if you caught it. So I think it was in Arizona, and he was putting out support for this Arizona candidate guy, and people were booing the whole thing. And Trump, and this is how you can see cracks in the armor. Trump said, but you still love me, right? And that's the first time I think we ever heard Trump ask if the audience still loves him instead of, like saying that they do. So it's a small thing, but it's a little significant, just a tad.
Yeah. It is true. It is true. Okay. I actually made it. And then I got this. Are you a fan of PKD? Polycystic kidney disease? I'm not sure what PKD is. Any ideas? I'm sure it's something.
Peking duck? I have no idea.
I mean, I do like Peking duck. Peking ducks, yeah.
Oh, he meant Philip K. Dick.
So seeing what science fiction he wrote. Let's see here.
I asked my friends to track down this Gilbert Farween actor on Twitter. I need to know who he is.
Oh, I think this has to do with like Buck Rogers kind of stuff. But no. Oh, okay. So, all of these things are based on him. Okay. So, PKD, he wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which obviously became Blade Runner. He wrote
Total Recall.
Yeah, we can remember it for you wholesale, which became Total Recall. He wrote Minority Report, which became Minority Report.
Man in the High Castle.
Paycheck. Wow. The Adjustment Bureau. It's amazing that like I've read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but not the rest of his stuff, though I've seen almost every fucking like adaptation of his work. So I seem to be a fan of him through in second iterations. So that's interesting. Yeah, but man, there's a guy who had like so much influence who is not the fact that I'm stumbling on who he is,
Trey, you know him because one of his books is Ubik, which is the name of one of the God Hand.
From Berserk. That's how I know. Oh, dang! All right, there we go.
There's your Berserk for
the God Hand. So the God Hand are named after horror movie or horror science fiction
Yes,
authors?
all of them.
Okay.
All of them. No, not after authors, but after their stories.
Interesting. Wow.
Hmm.
Um, Trump wasn't insecure; he was a train wreck of arrogance. But isn't the funny thing about people that they have both simultaneously? Isn't that the weird thing about arrogance and insecurity?
Mm.
That like, I mean, this is like Theon, right? As like a primary example. Like he's both incredibly arrogant and incredibly insecure, or like Homelander, you know. Like we use arrogance as a cover to hide our insecurity or something, right? Um, because
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like the two, like, even though they're polar opposites, don't they seem like the same fucking thing, right? You know, it's a really interesting emotion, um, and like trait, arrogance and insecurity.
I feel like I've had that very like that exact same emotion where like you think of you so highly of yourself, but also like you're insecure about yourself at the same time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah. And I don't even I want to say it's not even like anything that's conscious, you know. It's just like you're just kind of in those situations where like you're gonna get your arrogance is like some sort of like way to cope with your own insecurity.
Mm.
um I don't think it works that way with narcissists, but I think narcissists are also like incredibly insecure. um you know, so I mean, not like truly narcissists. Like Narcissus, the Greek tale, the Greek mythology tale. I guess he wasn't very insecure at all. but but most people, yeah, most people that are into themselves, like they actually have really thin skin.
Mm.
Yeah, so um yeah, Trump insecurity stems from him being successful because his dad was rich. I think his dad, I mean, this is big into like getting back into The Boys season 3. Like they definitely like played into the fact that like Trump's dad like ignored him and treated him like shit and thought he was a fuck up and a disappointment, and like Trump
Doesn't
like,
that sound familiar? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's completely like it was completely written in there with Soldier Boy and Homelander. Like in, yeah.
I love Jackie's quote right there. If you see it.
The forest was shrinking, but the trees kept voting for the axe. For the axe was clever and convinced the trees that because his handle was made of wood, he was one of them. Yeah, that is a great quote.
Oh, that is really great.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think it does. I think like why do poor people fall for rich people? Like, you know, why is that like the situation? And I think it gets into like the insecurity of being poor. Like some people are so insecure about being poor that they kind of like they think there's something wrong with themselves, and that rich people have somehow like cleverly got out of the system. They've been taught to kind of hate themselves, and
So therefore, they got to listen to the rich guy.
Yeah.
This is something that a lot of these idiots out here in red country don't understand, is that Trump is not a self-made millionaire. Neither is Elon Musk or most of these other guys. Their wealth was handed down to them from their fathers or their father's father.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Trump inherited $400 million, and the Washington Post did a fairly detailed economic analysis of like had he put his money in like the Dow Jones like regular investment, he would have been like much richer. But he, you know, because I think they were having his net worth at the time being like 4 billion, and it's like had he invested it just in the stock market, like in a index fund or something, or they even went with like regular CD bonds, he would have had like more. But instead he did all this real estate shit that actually like didn't make him any money at all. I think when he inherited his money at 400 million, like adjusted for inflation and everything, it's like not even, he didn't make very much at all. So it was very poor growth, but still, you know, self-made. I mean, I guess that does make Soldier Boy a little. I mean, Trump's dad did make all the money, so I guess Soldier Boy taking the shortcut. Um, um, let's see. Favorite Hanna Barbera cartoon.
Hmm.
Wacky Raisins, Jetsons, Space Ghost. I think I loved Space Ghost Coast to Coast. I did, but when I was really young, I wanted to watch the Laugh Olympics because all of the characters would like come together and like compete. But I'm kind of forgetting like Hanna Barbera probably had a million cartoons that I fucking loved that I'm probably forgetting here. Um, Weirdly, I watched a lot of Yogi Bear when I was young. Trying to think. Let me think of some good ones here. Oh, it's just too many. There's just Yogi Bear show. Um, like I think USA used to show a lot of old Hanna Barbera cartoons, and so I used to kind of like Pixie and Dixie with Mr. Jinx. Trying to think what. Well, I think Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was Hanna Barbera, wasn't it? I'm not sure. No, maybe not. Also, I think A Pup Named Scooby Doo was a really fun Scooby Doo year. You guys, this is way older than you guys. You guys don't know.
Yeah.
Scooby Doo.
Oh, I think I watched Wacky Races as like a kid, maybe, but like only a little bit. Did you know that? By the way, did you know that George Jetson's going to be born soon?
Really?
His birthday is August 22nd, 2022, something like that.
Oh man,
One of
that's
it's
weird
the
stuff,
25th.
right?
No, it's like we're living in the future, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It is funny watching old sci-fi movies. You know, like I think Escape from New York is like in the future, in 1987. Like crime rate, like you're like, oh god. I missed last week's music discussion, which was like 10 people really liked and everybody else like was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Have you listened to a funk metal band called Primus, big 90s band with some ridiculous lyrics and eclectic bass lines? Yeah, Primus was huge when I was in high school. So like every person that chose to play bass, like it's the only band to look up to, because you know, if you're in bands, like bass is a pretty boring instrument to play. Like it's pretty easy. They don't get any credit. Like no one's sitting there going, oh man, the bass player, awesome. Like anybody can play bass. And this was the old joke. Like this is why, like, you know, you'd have a band and you'd throw like your friend's little sister who doesn't even know how to play like on the bass, and like that would be, you know, and so Primus was like an actually like talented bassist who was doing interesting things, and so people would pay attention to him. But they were huge. Elon Musk fans coming. Space Ghost was great. Let's see what else we got here. Soylent Green is now. What year did Soylent Green happen? Yeah, but like, let's see. They're like 1973. Yeah, I got it. But Soylent Green.
2022. It is this year.
Oh, it is this year. Fuck, in 2022.
Wow.
Wow.
What's the population of New York City now? Soylent Green says it's 40 million. Let's see, what is it today?
I think it depends on metro area. It's like it's anywhere between 15 and 21 million or something, depending on like how you count the metro area of New York. But I think it's like 15 million. You'll see it's like metro area.
Okay. So we're not Soylent Green yet.
No. I mean that's the big thing that they talk about, like the warnings. The big thing futurists had wrong was the food crises of like because everyone was looking at population growth figures and they're like, oh, we're all going to starve. And so that wasn't the thing that happened. That the crisis averted. There are some massive crises that like we as humanity like actually solved. One of the most successful, which was great, is the ozone hole, which like when I was young, like the ozone hole was this like huge problem. Scientists just determined the cause. It was chlorofluorocarbons, like in industrial production. They banned them. All these countries got on board, and now it took decades, but the ozone hole is almost healed, and it was a success of like humanity and government and everything we should do right, and how we're like fucking it up now. Like I'm just thinking like how it just wouldn't, like today's climate, we'd just be like too stupid. We'd be too stupid to do it. It was amazing though. It was amazing that like that humanity like had a dire problem. We got together, we figured out a solution, we listened to the scientists, government came through, and we fucking defeated it. And man, it's like, anyone remembers CFCs? I do. Remember, we used to have styrofoam containers for McDonald's. They don't they don't exist anymore. Can I explain the ending to Alayne II? It doesn't make sense. Why would they declare independence? Part of it, like each person is going to have a different reason for why they think independence is like advantageous to them. But but now that I've thought about it a lot, I think that's like Donald Wainwood is going to be a big player, and he is going to have his reasons. The Blackfish obviously just wants whatever he can have to start war, because that's what the Blackfish is obsessed with. Sweet Robin is going to go along with it because he wants to legitimize Alayne and marry her. So there's and a lot has to do with like fray, wheeling, and dealing. Like what the Vale Lords think they can get out of like conquering the Riverlands. But yes, the idea of like, oh, it doesn't make sense. Like this is a story. We make it make sense. Like we figure it out. There's power grab situations, as Particle Man said, Particle Man. Where we can work it out. That's the idea. So you find out. It's, the McDLT was worth the ozone layer. So when I was young, there was the McDLT, which many people. If have you ever watched the channel Answers with Joe?
No.
Really good channel. Really fucking good channel.
Trey, have you seen that one?
No.
It's straight up Trey's. Yeah. Answers with Joe is this really fucking good channel where he talks about like popular science situations, like what liquid batteries are doing right now, or what electric cars are doing right now, and like what's happening with the James Webb Telescope. But he has this like ongoing joke where he keeps bringing up the fucking McDLT because like when I was young, they marketed this product called the McDLT, which was McDonald's like attempt to compete with the Whopper. It's a Whopper. Like that's all it is. However, like their gimmick was they would give you a box twice as big that had like two compartments.
This is so stupid.
Where the bun, the lettuce and tomato and mayonnaise and stuff were on one side, and the patty was on the other side. And so the container would keep the hot side hot and the cool side cool. And then you take it and you put it together, and you'd have your Whopper. So it was superior to a Whopper because Whoppers, if you had one criticism of the Whopper, is that like your lettuce is going to get, and tomato is going to get a little wilted,
Here,
because...
this is going to be a blast from the past for you. But by the way, Jason Alexander is in this commercial for it. But here, I sent it to you on Facebook. Is that it? That looks ridiculous. What a waste.
Yeah, I guess I got to
I'll
show
show
the
you. Here, Trey, I'll send it to
Oh
you
my
too.
gosh. It's tasty way to enjoy delicious, cool lettuce, tomato, and cheese with a hot quarter-pound beef patty on a sesame bun. There you
Yeah,
go.
and if you
Little
watch
ad.
there's an ad you can watch on YouTube, and it's young Jason Alexander from Seinfeld with hair dancing around, singing about the McDLT. Yeah, somebody made a good
And it
point.
has this.
Somebody made the point. How does your YouTube algorithm not recommend you Answers with Joe? Ridiculous. You know, it's like it's true. It's true. I don't know how they're not getting Answers with Joe in their feed. Okay, because Answers with Joe is he's a really good channel. It's, I mean, like quality fucking channel. Like not just fucking like he copies nobody. It's like original stuff. He's like thoughtful. It's like entertaining. Like it's a like really fucking quality channel.
Oh, awesome. I'm going to subscribe to him because I've seen his videos recommended to me before, but I haven't watched them. So that's good. Good
Yeah,
recommendation.
and he's like really good at. He kind of stumbled into it. It originally was just like him doing shit, and then it just happened to be that his best videos were the ones where it was stuff on science that he liked, and then he just started doing science stuff. So like that's why the name of the channel is just Answers with Joe, because it was originally about anything, but people like really only cared about his science discussions. Preston, it's time. What's your opinion on avocado? Its underuse, overuse is in many cuisines. Avocado toast is great. Look, avocado is fucking wonderful. How can you can't overdo avocado. And this is like avocado is like what I go to about like, oh my God, like, are you honestly telling me that you don't like NAFTA, like, and free trade? And you're telling me like, fucking, hey, like avocados, like you wouldn't have your avocados if it wasn't for NAFTA. Like you wouldn't have guac at Chipotle. You wouldn't have your California rolls. You wouldn't have your avocado toast. Okay. So stop bashing NAFTA. Like,
it's good for you too. It's got like good cholesterol in it, and
yeah, no, it's great. It's great. The ones here in Taiwan are funny because they're like, I mean, they're like, if you go to Mexico, avocados are also like enormous, but they're enormous here in Taiwan. They're not quite as tasty when they're enormous, but you get so much more. Somebody's like, avocado toast is the worst use of avocado. It's fine. I like avocado toast. My wife is obsessed with like avocado toast with salt and pepper on it. But I mean, for me, I like avocado in my salads. I like avocados on burgers. I like guac. I like them in tacos. Like, come on. I love these like, LOL, dude. NAFTA is horrible, dude. I'm an economist. You're not gonna like bash free trade with me. Like, free trade's great. Like, free trade is great. Like, there's no like like there's no economist that's against free trade. Like, NAFTA became this like boogeyman that like to try to bash stuff. Like, used like both Bernie and Trump like took on this like populist shit. Like the TPP. Like, you guys don't fucking understand anything about free trade, okay? Like, oh man, but. Like, we shouldn't be growing like expensive avocados in California when we can import them from Mexico. Like, of course we should be getting our, like, if anything, I want to know if anything NAFTA didn't go far enough. Like, what I want is like no seriously free trade agreements where everything is fucking like on board. Like, rather than like, instead, like we have all this protectionism on everything.
NAFTA's like, great, Preston. Tell that to fucking Detroit.
Yeah. In the long term, I mean, if you want, I'm just not for corporate protectionism of stuff. Like, shut it down. Shut it down. There's no reason for it to be produced. Why is it being produced? Like, but
oh, by the way, because someone mentioned it, someone asked me, because I feel like I need to reiterate this. No, I do not have any input on Alayne, Preston's upcoming Alayne chapter. Yeah, I've made that very clear. I'll make it. By the way, send it to me if I would like to read it before you put it out. Send it to me, your final draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, we haven't even gotten the submission deadline hasn't even come, so I don't have all the Alayne stuff. I mean, I have a few of entries, but yeah, free trade needs common regulations. Yes, mainly to deal with environmental and labor standard regulations, and I think all economists kind of agree on this that you don't want to race to the bottom idea, like and for the for the most part, labor standards have been improving over time. Environmental standards have been improving over time. The race to the bottom is usually going to a country that has not yet established those regulations. But we need, with a free trade agreement, and everybody, all economists accept this, that a free trade agreements should go hand in hand with labor standards and environmental regulations. Now, unfortunately, and this is the other point being made, isn't NAFTA a free trade agreement with 10,000 pages of tariffs? That's the problem, is when it's not. When I'm like, no, what we really need is a no, seriously free trade agreement. The problem with like NAFTA, and when they say 10 pages of tariffs, that those are the exceptions. Like, so we had all of these tariffs, and then they're like, okay, we want to get rid of the tariffs, and then X industry is like, no, we want to be exempted. Fine. No, we want to be exempted. So like NAFTA is for more free trade. You're lowering the trade barriers. You're just not lowering them all. And if you want me to say like, do I think like NAFTA didn't go far enough? Yes, I don't think NAFTA went far enough. Like, I think we should be getting a lot more food from Mexico, and it would be good for Mexico and be good for the U.S. And instead, we're over farming California, and we're running out of water in California when like food can be grown in like better areas and brought in through free trade. Like there's, but agriculture, America has huge protectionism on agriculture, huge, because it's one of the big American bread and butters. So like most of our free trade agreements have carve outs for agriculture. Avocados, there's still a huge tariff on avocados, and still the Mexican avocados are cheaper than the American ones. In fact, the country that America has the highest tariffs against is Bangladesh. Bangladesh, we have the highest tariffs against because they produce really cheap clothing and like, stuff like that. We just ridiculous stuff. Like why should we be worried about Bangladeshi clothing and competing with like just give Bangladesh something. So quality controls. Well, I mean, obviously like safety standards and shit, like safety quality controls. But if somebody's going to be like, this food just doesn't taste as good, like, well, let it compete, let people know. One of the weird things about like Japan, so Japan has super big high tariffs on rice. So it's really hard to get rice from anywhere else in the world. And they use the excuse of like quality controls, like they don't meet Japanese standards of rice. And it's like, well, if somebody wants to buy shitty rice, let them buy shitty rice, Like, if somebody wants an inferior product, they should have the right to buy an inferior, cheaper product. Like that's an option for us, right? Like you don't want a situation where like everything has to be high quality all the time. Like, you want your standards. But yeah, when if you're talking about like safety, and yes, absolutely. How the White Walkers get around the wall in the book. This is one of those things where it's like, I think Gorn's way is the most clever way because it was introduced and like we want to use it. But like, I think some people talk about like whether or not the White Dragon was too clever of an idea for D&D. Like Trey and Carmine, what do you think? Do you think that the White Dragon is George R. R. Martin's idea?
Oh, I don't know. I think in the books it might be like ambiguously Sam blowing the horn in the South or whatever, because they have that horn and it's like this big deal. It's being hyped up, and I feel like it has to come up at some point. So I'm of the opinion I think the White Dragon isn't going to show up.
Okay. Carmine, any
I don't know, because a lot of things that we saw in the show we didn't think was George's idea turned out to be, we thought it was Dave and Dan, turned out to be George's idea. So I don't know. I really don't. Huh. Maybe. Maybe isn't there
seems
like this long-standing theory that there's an ice dragon inside the wall?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a little silly, but yeah.
I mean, that's a huge theory, but you're the theory guy.
I think
No,
it's
no.
too cool. Like it's too like I don't know. I'm not sure. Oh, we'll see. We'll see if Winds ever comes out. That'd be interesting if an ice dragon does show up. I feel like in the show they might have like merged like because there's going to be a second Dance of the Dragons. Maybe they merged the two plot lines because they're probably going to have like dragons fighting. So they're like, okay, we can't really have Cersei have a dragon, and we can't really have like Jon have a dragon like fight Daenerys. So they're like, okay, let's like give the White Walkers one. I don't know. I think it's like a merging of plot lines. Maybe what's going on.
Um, by the way, on this, when was the last time you or anyone you know moved or vacation to a communist utopia? 100% failure rate. Not really true though. Like lots of people do vacation to Cuba, and a lot of people do vacation to Kerala, India. So it's not 100% like people do kind of vacation to the communist places. I'm not saying I'm a communist. I'm not, and I'm not saying that I agree with like the Cuban government at all. But like people do, like you can't use vacationing as like the measure because like people do vacation to these communist utopias, and people vacation to fucking Egypt, which is pretty horrible government and political system and screwed up economic system as well. So, let's see. NAFTA killed unions and made it so greedy corporations could move overseas. They were doing it already. I mean, I think like specifically to Mexico and Canada. I don't think NAFTA did that. I mean, I don't know how many like moved to Mexico. And even if they did, like they're still importing things back, and it's also hard for me, also at this point, to be like, well, if you're, Mexico and Canada being so intertwined with America, like not like giving a job to a Mexican that's say at the expense of an American, like I don't see it as that bad because like that Mexican person ends up then buying American products that gives jobs to another American. So it all, it's not really very convincing to me that like that people are losing jobs because employment in America is like really, really high. Now the killing of the unions is a more complicated thing because then we're talking about like political organization that helped the Democrats. Though much of killing the unions had to do with Republican governors in states passing laws that fucking killed unions. So I can't really blame it just on NAFTA. I mean, it's probably be a slight contributor, obviously, but there's a lot of things that were killing unions. Anyway, so let's see here. Also, Cuba has shown willingness for free trade, so not really communist. I mean, no, what's communist these days? It's really hard to even define it. I mean, that's the thing is, yeah, like what is communism these days? I don't know. What was communism ever? I mean, does communism have to be Stalinism? Like, is that the definition of communism? I think this is. I mean, I meet a lot of people that are like, oh, communism like killed all of these people. It's like, really, or did Stalin? Like so. I'm Floridian. I know all about the Cubans. Fun, but kind of crazy. Super crazy. Generally right wing kind of demographic in America. Let's see here. I've been on here a while. So, any last topics you guys want to talk about? Carmine, Trey?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Trey, what do you have in the pipe in regards to videos?
Oh, I have I'm like making so I'm in the process of like editing one, but I might make like a really kind of short one about Jake the Alligator Man, which I visited over the last week, which is this weird roadside attraction that I've been obsessed with since a kid. So it'll be kind of like a fun short video, I think. Got a whole lot of them, and it's all in like the backlog. And then also I'm like dealing with my own stuff right now, so it's like taking forever.
No, no, of course you gotta get on that though. But Jake the Alligator Man, give me like a short, brief, non-spoilery summary of what that is. I've never heard of
Oh,
this.
it's this weird. So there's like this roadside attraction that I saw as like a kid, and it's this guy, this little mummified little creature man, who's half alligator, half man. Like his upper torso is like a human, his lower torso is like an alligator, and it's like this really just kind of creepy, weird little. It's like fake, obviously, but it's like I think it's a really like kind of funny, and I have an obsession with it. And it was like it's gonna be like a travel log, I guess, like my adventure to see and the stuff I saw along the way. Something short to give people
I,
something.
I see what it looks like. That is creepy as shit. That is very creepy.
It was like my introduction to like the early days of YouTube, where I saw that in like one of those early videos where like they edit it and put like Metallica music on it, and it's like creepy creatures in the world, like that, and I was like, whoa! And so like I've been obsessed with it ever since. I visited it in person, so I don't know, something cool.
Because people are impatient. You're like George R. R. Martin, Trey. Like people are wanting a fucking Trey
I
video.
can't criticize them. I can't criticize them because I'm no better.
Yeah. Don't, you're selling yourself short. You at least made a video 7 months ago.
Hasn't been 10 years.
Real quick side thing. Alayne II timeline. What date is it? Need to calculate some travel times for a mystery night. So, we could probably say that they gave that the Alayne Winds of Winter, Alayne 1, was maybe a fortnight after Alayne A Feast for Crows, Alayne II Feast for Crows. Which is about the time you give like everybody, like you announce a tourney, you give them a fortnight to like come to arrive. So you can say that like it's about 2 weeks. So like I could see, 2 weeks. That's enough time for maybe someone from the Riverlands or the Crownlands to get to the Vale. It'd be a 2 weeks unless you're going by ship. It'd be tough to get somebody from say the Reach. The Stormlands, you might need a ship to get there, but you give yourself a fortnight. But if it works, it works. This I think is a funny thing. I always argue with my conservative colleagues. They think government spending equals socialism. So, I mean, it kind of does and it kind of doesn't. So, like, socialism is just this idea that you're going to have, like, on a very simple basis, like, socialism is collective ownership of capital, while capitalism is private ownership of capital. So, but then the question is like, what is collective ownership of capital? Like, we have like co-ops, like in America where people own shares in their grocery store, and they're big among hippies, and it's communal ownership. So it's kind of socialism. The government itself is like collective payment of taxes, so things are collectively owned. So yeah, something spent by the government, I guess, would be socialism. But then you start saying, well, wait a minute. Corporations have shares on the stock market and they're owned by many people. So they're collectively owned. So aren't corporations socialism? And the answer is yes. Yes, they are. Like this is like collectively owned capital. Everything is fucking socialism. Now, when you get to like conservative colleagues, like the thing I like to push forward when they start labeling everything as socialism, isn't that socialism? Because everything is socialism. Corporations are socialism. You know, you and your brother like both owning a toy is socialism. Whatever you want to fucking call it. So, what I like to say though is okay. When a conservative colleague starts talking about socialism, I say, yeah, socialism, like the military. And immediately that gives them pause. And I'm like, they're like, what? The military? Military is not socialism. I'm like, what are you talking about? We've like collective payment and like you're giving people free housing, free government housing, free government food, free government clothing, free medical, like every aspect of their life is like socialism. These are created jobs that the market would not produce. You know, if left like to laissez-faire like situation, like no, you know, the market's not coming together to like build a base in Kansas for some guy to march around. Like the market isn't coming together to build battleships. Like this is the U.S. military is the prime example of socialism at the greatest extent. It's the U.S. military is the largest socialist entity in the world, right? And like it checks every box for socialism, however you want to define socialism. And you know, like I say, when I was talking about corporations being socialism, that's like kind of a bending of things to make a point. But like in the classic Stalinist sense of like what is socialism, like the government creating work, creating your clothes, your food, your medical, paying for it all. Like the military is the prime example of it. And you start talking about like everybody exists in pay bands where you can't earn like too much and you can't earn too little. Like every aspect of it is socialism. And then what's amazing is like the first comeback that people in the military tell me is like, well, wait a minute. You know, I give up a lot for that, like, for that, you know, I have to go through background checks and, you know, the government like gets into my life to be part of the military. And I'm like, oh, really? So like you're for a system that has like when the government is like super in your business, that's not socialism, you know, like it's it's so socialism, like the US military. So I usually come back to people and be like, you fear socialism? The first thing you should be for is getting rid of the US military. Like you should be for cutting that shit down to nothing, which to some libertarians credit, very few, but to some libertarians credit, some libertarians will be like, yeah, totally. And I'll be like, well, at least you're consistent. But like most people will like shy away and be angry that you've labeled the US military as the largest like socialist institution in the world. But it totally is, you know. But it's funny to watch the chat speed up and slow down depending on what Preston's going on about. It's true. Like sometimes I rant and like people like freeze and they're like, what is he fucking talking about? And then sometimes I rant and people are like, I've got fucking something to say. So it's kind of funny. Yeah, Carlos is right here that without the military, there'd be lots of very, very low IQ, otherwise unemployable people around the country. It's the best way to lift poor people out of poverty. It's mostly there as a welfare organization. Like that's, you know, that's what it is for mostly. And then people talk about like, you know, left-wing conspiracy-minded people will go a step further and say that like, well, it's so bad that they have to create fake wars to create the military-industrial complex going. And I don't know if I go that far. Like there's some like grand scheme, like we have to start a war to give the military-industrial complex money. But I'm not ready to like say that, but at the same time, I think it does give people subconscious motivations to be ready to do that when you're like, yeah, that makes me a buck. Or for a contractor to be like, well, we've got all the equipment for you, so ready to go. So, but yeah, it's yeah, socialism. What's my opinion on nuclear weapons? We should get rid of them. Like everybody should get rid of them in a collective like disarmament process. Like nuclear weapons are horrible.
But Preston, then how will Russia hide their incompetence? Their horrible, shitty army.
Yeah.
What will they hide behind?
Yeah, it's it's
without nukes, that country would be fucked. Yeah. Like we would. Oh my god.
It's one of the worst things that we've ever invented, and the chance the actual like having the actual opportunity to destroy the human race all at once, like it's pretty horrible. Pretty horrible that they were invented. Pretty horrible that they exist and they're all over the place. So.
By the way, I was going to ask both you and Trey real quick before you sign off. Trey, you saw the Rings of Power trailer, right?
I did.
I'll ask Trey first. Like, who do you think won the trailer wars? What are you more hyped for? House of the Dragon or Rings of Power?
I think I'm actually more excited for Rings of Power.
Oh,
whoa!
I know House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon was like they're like just people talking in rooms, dark rooms, and I was like, and then I saw orcs. Yeah. I saw an orcs with like a horse skull on its head. I'm like, that looks cool. And then like a sea serpent. I was like, wow.
I think so Carmine. I think Carmine and I are in a different situation because our lives revolve around it with our channels and shit.
I could separate it. Like the only reason I didn't like Rings of Power that much is because the overall like abundance of CGI and the atmosphere, it kind of looks like The Hobbit, and I did not like The Hobbit. I thought The Hobbit was not a good. I thought The Hobbit was a kind of betrayal of what Peter Jackson kind of started with Lord of the Rings. And no, like House of the Dragon felt a bit more grounded in a sense, like more on location shots. But you're right. Also, I recently came out with a video that the Eminem looking person is not Sauron. That is, I think, Sauron or Melkor / Morgoth cultists. So, because in the trailer, you do see like these three figures up on the cliff and like all white and stuff. So I think those are like dark side cultists from Exegol, Star Wars. But no, I thought House of the Dragon had a bit more of an interesting trailer because with the Rings of Power, it looked a bit more fake, which I'm not a fan of. I wish they shot it in New Zealand more.
I'm fascinated to see like what they've done with all this money, because isn't it like 3 times more money than House of the Dragon? Isn't it like 500 million or something? It's crazy.
Yeah,
House of the Dragon 150.
I think it was $1 billion. Half of that I think went to just getting the rights from the Tolkien estate.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's why I got the 500 million number. It was really $1 billion, and they paid off the fucking Tolkien family. Oh my god, can you imagine?
The Tolkien family is probably running out of money because I'm assuming they all do nothing except like just laze around and do whatever the fuck they want. I'm assuming every time they won't need money, they'll sell something off.
The thing is, once you have a certain amount of money, like that amount of money isn't even that very much. Like once you have $5 million, you then like can live off of like the interest and investment of it, like and your dividends or whatever. Like once you invest that 5 million and then you just live off to live off of that, like what standard of living is another issue, but like like how much money do they need? How could they have spent it all? Like how much blow is like the Tolkien family going through?
I'm assuming a lot of it goes to taxes and lawyers and shit. And
you've got to maintain that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that's where a good chunk of it goes. But no, House of the Dragon for me, it looked a little better. But I am gonna watch both. I'm not gonna cry minorities and women in my fantasy and not watch it.
I'm looking
that.
forward to beardless dwarves, beardless
They
female
will have
dwarves.
beards. They confirm that they will have beards.
Oh, they just had to like CGI them on later.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
It's even rather like we talked about this with Man of the West, Yoiston, and like he said that it's, you know, it's kind of tangential anyway. Like it's like a random thing somebody said once, another random thing somebody said once, and then they put them together and they came up with like the you know, the dwarf females have beards, you know.
House of the Dragon did the same thing with the Ascension tournament.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Didn't you say it was like remember it was like a paragraph in Fire and Blood, and now there's a whole episode? Yeah.
Oh yeah,
What's his name?
Half a paragraph.
Crab feeder, something like that. He's like the main villain. Craigus Crab Feeder. He's gonna be the big baddie. I can't wait to see people cosplaying him in like conventions and stuff.
Oh yeah, Halloween, Craigus Crab Feeder. This is like random throwaway dude. I mean, this is exactly like when we choose like random characters in the books to love. Like, you know, it could be anybody. A Kago corpse killer. Like, you know, like Kago corpse killer has like so much more on him. But no one's gonna fucking care about Kago corpse killer, you know.
That's something I'm always like insanely surprised about. By the way, I'm going to name a few people. I'm not disparaging them in any way. But like, I'm always surprised at how the fandom latches on to like these small minor things. Like I think there's a YouTube channel called Crowfood's Daughter, and there's a whole podcast called Davos's Fingers. Like these small minor things that I guess would be clever, but like, you know, just it's a whole thing now. It's like a whole business for these people. These small little things, you know.
It's true. Like it's a really, really specific reference. I mean, it's like if you had a Star Wars channel and you called it Tashi Station,
like people would get that. But if you called it like, I don't know, what's something Star Wars that's like
super obscure, Goffy stick,
Goffy sticks, like okay, cool, Goffy sticks, sure, why not?
Yeah. Who are you? I'm Adam Marbrand. Like what? Like what does he look like?
Who's the really Preston Greenfield and Preston Greenfield?
Oh, so Preston Greenfield.
Yeah,
it's funny because when I mentioned him in the because I mentioned Sir Preston in the Princess Justice, you know, fan fiction chapter, and I got a lot of comments that were like, wait, is Preston Greenfield's like, that's a shout out to like himself, right? I was like, no, like it was really important that there's this character named Preston Greenfield in the life of Balon Swan. Like Balon Swan would like think about Preston Greenfield. Like Preston Greenfield is an important person, like in Balon Swan's life. So if we're going into his like backstory, you want to mention him. But like Preston Greenfield, even though Preston Greenfield has like plenty of mentions in the two books, like people like didn't know he was a character.
I'm Nimble Dick for Halloween. That's going to be the hot selling item. I just love his name
because you can't even like show your like you're going to be wearing like a doublet with like no like a ripped off like sigil, so like no one knows where you're from. You just have this hole, and you're like, who are you? Check out my sigil. And I'm like, what sigil? Exactly, motherfuckers. Oh, all right. I'll really quickly get to these last super chats before I go. But I've been on here. We've been all on here like 3 hours. So, I remember seeing Aragon and Narnia in theaters as a kid. Will these fantasy IPs make a revival on TV due to Rings of Power?
I think he means Narnia.
Narnia, Aragon and Narnia.
Wow, Aragon. Well, fuck that.
Aragon.
Probably not. Like, is Aragon? Is that from? Am I confusing Dragons of Pern? Is that Dragons of Pern?
No, Aragon is the 2006 film. I actually saw it when I was in high school. It's 2006 film based off the book by I used to
Yeah.
love that fucking series until a friend of mine. So this is one of those instances where I actually liked something and then one sentence ruined my entire enjoyment of it. So Aragon, if you
It was hot. It was fat pink mast.
not that. Aragon, if you put it next to Star Wars, is basically Star Wars. But fantasy. It's literally Star Wars but fantasy, and that ruined it. On top
so
of
Star Wars, considering Star Wars is fantasy.
Star Wars is sci-fi, but this is like, Star Wars with like, dragons and whatever the fuck and magic and shit, and it's basically Star Wars, and that in the movie, and I was done. So I think Aragon is done forever until maybe in 50 years they'll bring it back. Narnia, I think Amazon might be doing something with. I actually like the Narnia films; they were great.
Yeah, I mean, Narnia was in direct response to Lord of the Rings, and they made 3 of them, but I guess the 3rd one didn't do that well, so they never did the rest.
I think the 3rd one was Voyage of the Dawn.
Yeah, it has our boy in it. Or no, he's Prince Caspian. Never mind. Our boy from Westworld, which we have to watch today because Westworld got good again. At least last time.
Yeah, Westworld. What'd you think of that twist? Trey, are you watching Westworld?
I'm not watching Westworld. all I hear about is
give
from
it
you
away.
guys.
I mean,
Fine.
What's funny is that like they did the same thing again, and I fell for it, and I was like, oh, I mean, like before the reveal, like I figured it out, but like still, like you get that moment, like, oh no, wait, oh god, oh, they did it again, they got me.
Better this time, way better than season 2.
Yeah, but with regards, look, I do think that Hollywood and everybody, they're searching for IP out there, and it's amazing there are huge series like Dragons of Pern or Dragonlance, for example, that they could grab that stuff and like try to make a series or a movie out of this stuff, and maybe they will, but I don't even know if like they're well known enough. Like if somebody would be like, oh, Dragons of Pern is like too much of a risk. Like they've tried to do it with like Wheel of Time, which is fucking huge. Like they took a roll of the dice on that, and I think they had mixed results. Like I don't necessarily think it like got the ratings they were really expecting. And so like if Wheel of Time can't make it as an IP, like what are the chances that some of these smaller IPs will make it? I mean, Narnia is big enough, but like, I do think about. You're right.
It took years for them to make Narnia, but it took like a couple. It might
decades. It might be a generational thing. Like everyone my age read Narnia when they were kids, but like because there wasn't that much young adult fiction when I was a child, and now there's fucking so much young adult fiction that it's like, why would anyone read Narnia?
True. Like, well, to be fair, they readapt Dune like every couple decades or something. So there's like so many Dune adaptations. So
because everybody fucking loves Dune, and they still fucking go psychotic over Dune. Like it'll never, but Dune will never go away. But it's hard to think of like big IP that you're locked into. I mean, I would say Harry Potter. They'll never stop making Harry Potter, but man, J.K. Rowling like is trying her best to bury her fucking self.
Well, with J.K. Rowling, I'm actually having this conversation with someone, because we always say like I love Lovecraftian horror, but I'm able to separate that genre from The Man, who was not a very good guy. Are we going to do the same with J.K.? Like, does she get a spot on the Mount Rushmore of fantasy writers, and we separate the work from the woman?
I think once she dies or goes away for a long time, I think she's like if she gets off Twitter tomorrow and like goes away for 10 years, I think in 10 years, like people will be like, J.K. Rowling, like, they might forget it, they might forgive her. But like she keeps fucking like every day, like, oh God, she's at it again. Like if she didn't continuously piss people off, like maybe. But But man, oh, so last night my wife and I watched half of the last Fantastic Beasts movie. Man, they just don't know what to do with their IP. They just do not know what to do with their IP.
Whatever
Did
happened to the
anything in
Fantastic
particular?
Beasts?
It's like this. It was like a really well put together movie. Like so far, it's like that. I'm an hour in, and it doesn't feel like the movie started, and it feels like scenes are out of order. And there's like far too many references that like I don't get as a casual. Like even my wife, who's super into the book series, like is like, I think they're making a reference to this, like it's way too specific, like big things, like, and like we can't remember. Like the last two movies are kind of forgettable, and so like the scenes that if I was really like to judge like the problem with Fantastic Beasts is like the best part of Fantastic Beasts is when you have Newt Scamander using a Fantastic Beast to get out of a situation, or he has to like survive a situation by using his knowledge on Fantastic Beasts. Like when he's doing that shit, they're quite entertaining movies, like in the middle of the movie, like Newt Scamander is like trying to go down and rescue his brother, and he comes across all of these scorpions, and he all of a sudden has to like squat like this and go like sideways in order for all the scorpions to not murder him. And it's a little funny. I actually wish they were even goofier about it and had him like be goofier, because like one of the actors is half-assing it and he's just kind of like standing there and he's not really being goofy. And like all of a sudden it's kind of funny because like you're exploring like the Fantastic Beasts, and I like Newt Scamander as a character, but like the rest of the movie is just so confusing and dull, and just like there's nothing wondrous and fun about it, So they're way too into the lore. They're way too into it. Like when we sit around talk about our fucking like inane shit, like Nimble Dick, right? We do it in a fun fucking way, right? You want to have fun with the complexity. Like have fun is the first fucking lesson. Like I would say, like if it's not fun, what are we fucking doing, right? Like this is a fantasy story. Like I either need to be feeling an emotion or having fun. Like Fantastic Beasts is like, did you know that the grandfather of Morpheus Hattenbotten is actually had an affair with the grandfather of Gaius Morphentoofer, and you're like, why is that interesting to anybody? Like, why is that interesting to anybody? Like, if I told you, like, hey guys, did you know that the great grandfather of Brienne, like, had an affair with the great grandfather of Brynden Rivers? No. And
that does kind of happen in Ice and Fire, homie. That
does, but like, how does that affect the story? And why should we care? And why, like, this is what they're doing in Fantastic Beasts. Like, it's all this like lineage shit about like people like I don't know and don't care about. Like, who fucking cares? Like, just fucking get to the Fantastic Beasts and where they come from and fucking Newt Scamander. Like, just give me that fucking movie. What you're fucking advertising. Give me that fucking movie. Like,
that's the one criticism I've heard about this trilogy is that where are the Fantastic Beasts? They seem to all go away after the first film.
Oh my god. Ugh. Oh. Well, okay. I got roped into staying here longer. I need to go.
See, this is where I'm roping you in. Actually roping you in.
Yeah, I know. Do you think Dani will go north in the books? Her plot has nothing to do with that plot. Seems like forced in the show. I think that George R. Martin has gardened both a final battle at Winterfell and a final battle at Harrenhal. There's evidence for both in the text. Because I don't think he necessarily made a decision. So you've got, for instance, Dany having a dream of like rivers drying up and fighting the others. Clearly, what is the Trident? Because she's like paralleling Rhaegar. Okay, but then you have like this stuff with Bran and the werewood at Winterfell, and that being a very important like nexus point for his story. And I do think like the pools at Winterfell and floating and shit like that, I do think that like that's in George R. R. Martin's mind. So it seems like, well, where would the final battle be? And like both kind of are gardened, because I don't think George really made up his mind. So I don't think George made up his mind if Dany is going to go north. But again, we're literally never getting to that point. Like,
stop it! I hate when you do that. Stop saying we're not getting this book, because you imply we're not getting the books.
I mean, like I say, like she's not going to do that in Winds of Winter.
Okay.
Right?
I thought you were implying that that George is going to die before he finishes. I thought you were doing that.
Well, on the final book, yeah. Yeah. I mean, is there any doubt Is there any doubt to that?
He looks slimmer. That's the important part. He looks slim. Trey said it himself. He looks slim. Okay.
He looks good. He looks okay.
No, that's totally George R. R. Martin. Yeah, like after 73 years of being husky, he's gonna start eating salads and trim down, you know, and then live a fucking another 60 years. Yeah, that's totally what's gonna happen. Totally.
I hate that the stupid asshole said like if he dies he'll just burn everything. Like burn. What do you mean? Just have fucking Sanderson or your proteges who did The Expanse come in and fucking finish it, you asshole. Why would you do this? What an asshole. Fucking asshole.
We're still waiting on the Thousand Worlds Avalon.
Oh my god.
I mean, we're never going to get Avalon. Shit. Come on. Poor Avalon.
Valcard shit no one cares about. Fucking asshole.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for joining me for so fucking long. 3 hours and 20 minutes. You. Jesus. Sorry, guys. Man. Trey, I'm looking forward to that video you're making.
Oh, thank you. I'm editing it right now, so there we go.
I will retweet it when it comes. It'll be you know what's gonna happen is Carmine's gonna be like, dude, it's out, and I'm gonna be like, what Winds of Winter, and he's gonna be like, Trey's new video.
I've done that like twice before, so yeah, maybe.
He fucking does. He fucking lives to like fucking fake me out. Like, dude,
that's so cruel.
Go on Twitter right now. Oh my god, go on Twitter. What is it? Snow. Fuck.
It's gonna happen so much that like you're not gonna believe it when it actually does come out.
It's true.
I'm interested what that would be like if I'm gonna actually believe, and like if it will just be blowing up the news. When's the winter's out?
I mean, it'll blow up the news. It'll blow.
What a dream!
Yeah. I think this would be the most pre-ordered book in the history of like human space and time, because I think previously it was like one of the Harry Potter books who broke the records, but no, this there's way up too much into it. Like everyone, no, this beats Harry Potter by a long shot, unless the long lost book of Tolkien comes out and they discover it, A New Shadow, then I guess that, but maybe even then, not really.
Like, what is this? Like dust off all the cocaine. Tolkien's lost work. Ethriel the elf. I'm sorry, it's like that half thing, like Ethriel the elf. All right, gentlemen, thank you everyone for sticking with us. We'll talk to you guys soon.